From Van Humboldt Fellow, Chemnitz University of Technology, Germany, from 2012 to 13. He was Brain Pool Fellow of Korea in the year 2011. To his credit, he has pursued major research grants. Dr. Dubal has received more than $4 million funding from various government and industry sectors. The prominent ones are Australia-South Korea Joint Project, CBT Industry Engagement Grant, ARC Discovery Projects, QUT Center for Material Science Funds, IFE Catapult Project, QUT Internal Grant, Australian Research Council Future Fellowship. He is member of editorial board of certain renowned publications. He is associate editor, ES Energy and Environment, Engineer Science Publisher, editorial board member, Sustainability, EMDPI Publications, guest editor for special issue in Frontiers in Nanotechnology, guest editor for the special issue in Polymer, MPDI Publications, guest editor for special issue in Material Science and Energy Technologies, guest editor for special issue in Molecules, MPDI Publications, guest editor for special issue in Applied Sciences, MPDI Publications, book editor, Metal Oxides in Supercapacitors, Elsevier Publication, guest editor for special issue in Journal of Solid State Electrochemistry, Springer, member of editorial board, Scientific Reports, Nature Publishing Group, member of editorial board, Electrochemical Energy Technology. To his credit, there are many awards, but I would like to mention few of them. He is many honors. In fact, he is visiting professor at Mid Sweden University, Sweden. He has membership of quarterly Franklin membership of London Journal of Research in Science, UK, member of Royal Australian Chemical Institute, Australia, conference ambassador of 20th IUMRS ICA Conference, Australia, elected as Foreign Young Associate Fellow of Maharashtra Academy of Sciences, India. He is member of International Association of Advanced Materials. He was awarded an opportunity of Nobel laureate meeting in the year 2013, Lindau, Germany. I would like to mention his national and international standings. Professor Dubal is a prolific, well-cited, and multiple fellowship-winning scientist in the field of chemistry and material science. His achievements are honored by several prestigious fellowships, such as Brain Korea 21, Alexander von Humboldt, Marie Curie, and Vice Chancellor Fellowship of Australia. He has established an internal reputation in rapidly advancing field of clean energy conversion and storage devices. Because of his high quality outputs, competitive grant success, and proactive engagement with industry and internal collaborations, he is one of the youngest faculty at QUT with performance metrics exceeding the benchmarks for his disciplines. He has established long-lasting collaborations over 45 researchers from various countries such as India, Germany, Spain, South Korea, Sweden, Brazil, and Czechoslovakia. Dr. Dubal has already established a wide network of collaborating partners from Australian and Indian industry, government agency, and academia. Currently, he serves as an editorial board member of Nature Scientific Reports and associate editor of ES Energy and Environment. He also serves as assessor of several Australian and overseas research grants, Irish Research Council of National Science Centre, Poland. He has continued to serve as an external examiner for PhD thesis in University of New South Wales, Australia, in Savitribai Phule Pune University, Pune, and VIT India, and ad hoc reviewer of more than 40 international journals in the field of chemistry, material science, electrochemistry, and energy storage. Here I would like to mention some of his significant contributions. Dr. Dubal is an internationally recognized expert in the fields of advanced materials manufacturing and their applications for batteries and supercapacitors and cell-powered devices for variable and healthcare devices. He is leading energy conversion and he is leading member of Energy Conversion and Storage Group, ECS, which currently comprises 13 researchers, including 2 postdoctoral fellows, 6 PhD students, 1 visiting PhD students, and 4 adjunct senior lecturers. Dr. Dubal's research on design and development of advanced materials for clean energy conversion and storage technologies has made genuine contribution to the field with more than 167 high-ranking peer-reviewed articles, which have attracted more than 13,220 citations. The number of citations per year are steadily increasing, more than 2,200 in 2021 only, implying the growing impact of his research. His H index is 60 and I10 index is 151. He has maintained an active research agenda with regular publications in high impact factor journals in chemistry, energy, and material science. According to Scopus, Dr. Dubal has contributed 104 peer-reviewed scientific articles from 2016 to 2021. Amongst those articles, 85 are in top 25% of journals, while 68 are in top 10% of journals in their field. In the last 5 years alone, these articles have attracted more than 3,055 citations in total, with an average of 29.3 citations per publication and H index of 54. So we have such an eminent, great scientist, young scientist, to deliver his invited talk in front of our participants and delegates. With this brief introduction of Dr. Deepak Dubal, may I request him to present his talk, which will benefit our participants. Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Can you please confirm if you can hear me properly?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Let me share my screen and just confirm if you can see my screen as well. So yeah, can you see my screen? Can anyone confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just here. Okay, thank you very much, Bobri sir, for such a long introduction. I don't know from where you got this such a brief introduction about me. I think I sent a very short CV to you, but I'm not sure from what are your sources from where you actually got a really very long curriculum. And first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to you, as well as Dr. V.B. Patil sir. And I also would like to thank our organizing committee members, because they are doing a really very good job. So I always enjoy the opportunity to talk or to discuss about the science and the research which we are doing at the Queensland University of Technology. So because we already are running late, so I would directly focus on my presentation. So as Dr. Bobde sir has already introduced me a very long introduction. So what I would say myself is Dr. Deepak Dubal, and I'm working as an associate professor at the Queensland University of Technology which is in Brisbane. Is a city in Queensland. Is a small is a state in Australia. So what I'm going to talk today is about the battery recycling. So this topic is a little bit off about what we always talk about, the nanotechnology and so many kind of different nanostructures and different applications about the supercapacitors, batteries, solar cells, and catalysis, and these several different kinds of applications. But there are several really very big issues people are facing, and we are still not realizing it, the bad benefits of these kind of new problems, and we really don't know the solutions about these problems. So what I'm going to talk today is about the battery recycling, which is a really very disturbing issue, and this is going to be a really very big issue in next 5 to 10 years. So what we always talk about is the waste. Is it really a waste, or it is an opportunity to do something new or to do a new kind of research? So I will introduce you what exactly is happening with the batteries. Of course, there is a booming market, but what we really need to understand is the science is to solve the problems. It's not for fun, or it's not just for just to publish a paper. So what we need to find is the solutions for the real world problems. So this is what you people will experience after my talk, that how and the extent or the scale of this problem. So let's start with a very small introduction of my university. So yeah, so here is the I would say a very broad map of Australia, and here is Queensland, which is the state in Australia, and here is the city, which is the coastal city of Brisbane, and we have a Queensland University of Technology. So Queensland University of Technology is a pretty young university, but it is the fastest growing university in Australia. So this university is even younger than Shivaji University. This university has started in 1989. So in last 30 years, the university has grown so fast that this university has already achieved around 200th position into the QS ranking. So in the world rankings, we have already achieved a really very high position. So this is what the interesting thing about this university, that's being an youngest university. This university is growing so fast. We have several different types of research activities happening. We have several internal centers where we work on a different kind of materials. We also work on the climate change. We also work on the waste, different waste materials, or how we can turn the waste into a value-added materials, and several different topics we are working in. So this is a very nice campus of my university, QUT. So we have basically two campuses. So this campus is in the center of the city, exactly in the heart of the city. You can even see in the virtual background. So this is nothing but a very, very nice view of Queensland University of Technology. And we also have a very small campus into another suburb, which is a Kelvin's Grove. So basically we have divided, because we are at the center of the city, we have a limited space. So we also have the small section of the university at the other part of the city. So we are basically focusing on different forms or different kinds of research. As I said already, you people feel free to visit a website of the Queensland University of Technology, mostly because we are a researcher. So just maybe like a science and engineering faculty, you can visit and you can have a look what a different kinds of research is happening. You can also go through the courses and study and what kind of particular courses are happening at the university. So as I said, this is a very young university. When I got a chance to join this university in 2019 as a senior lecturer, but after one, you can say within 1 year, I have been promoted to the associate professor. So now I have a small group at Queensland University of Technology. I will introduce my group at the end of my presentation. So just if we start directly talking about today's topic about the battery recycling and what exactly the batteries are. So basically, if you see all these kind of portable electronic devices, so human life, if you see the today's human life, so today's human life is already surrounded with several different forms of advanced technologies, the modern technologies. You can see now I'm sitting almost 10,000 kilometers away from you, and you people are still listening. And this is because this is just because of this modern advanced electronic technologies. So what happens with this technology is like this all technologies needs an energy, and because we want a mobile to be a portable device, this kind of devices needs the energy sources which are portable and that can store a large amount of energy. Nobody wants to charge their mobile after each an hour, right? So we want to charge a mobile once and then we want to use it for one whole day. So as these technologies are growing, you can see initially we were only using the mobiles, or the batteries were only used into the mobiles or laptops, or like a cameras. But you can see that the technology is booming so fast that we have started to use, or we started to make all devices like a portable. So for instance, like we want this drones. So these drones are particularly used for the military applications or defense applications, where these drones works on the batteries. So these are the small scales, but what will happen if we start to use these batteries for a large scale energy storage? For an example is the solar power plants. So now we are not storing the solar energy. What we are doing is we are just converting a solar light into the electricity, and then we are connecting it to the grid so that we can use it. We can straight away use it as soon as it is generated. But just imagine, as we already know that, so in the day we have a sun, so we can generate energy, we can use the energy. But what happens if we want to use this energy in the night? So that is the reason what we started to do is we started to store this energy, excess energy, into the batteries. So these batteries are really very, very, very big. So these batteries, the scale of these batteries are, if I tell you in terms of the watts. So in case of mobiles or laptops or cameras, the battery is very small. So you see it is in the power is in the range of watts. But once we start to go to a little larger scale application, it goes to the watts to kilowatts and kilowatts to megawatts scale of energy. So for solar and even for the electric vehicles, which we are hoping in next 5-10 years, all the electric cars or all the cars, gasoline engines, that gasoline vehicles, we want to turn into the electric vehicles, right? So this scale, this massive scale of batteries, we are using it. Of course, all the countries, like including China, of course, China is in the first place who are actually manufacturing the batteries. But as soon as people understand that this is a huge market and every industrialist, everyone wants to jump into this battery manufacturing market. But nobody is aware of the disaster which is going to happen after 5 to 10 years. What exactly we are going to do with these batteries? Okay, so this is the next question. Okay, the first question is, we don't have we don't have a resources to fabricate these batteries. Let me introduce you what exactly these batteries are made of. So this is a very simple graph I try to find to show you that how this lithium-ion battery market is growing. So you can see the first lithium-ion battery came into the market is around 1990. So Sony Incorporation, they brings first lithium-ion battery into the market based on, of course, the Nobel laureate Professor John B. Goodenough's invention. And then you can see this blue curve, it has started to increase, and there is a steep increase into the lithium-ion battery demand. So that this battery industry is growing so fast that is going to be the billion or trillion dollars market. So what exactly we are going to do with these batteries? Like, because of course we need as soon as we start to convert all these gasoline vehicles into the electric vehicles, this is going to be a very sharp increase into the lithium-ion battery market. So the problem with this lithium-ion battery market is going to happen is the most critical problem is going to be the critical minerals used into the batteries. So basically we use a different kinds of critical minerals. So lithium is the most important because it is a lithium ion battery. So lithium is the most important component in the batteries. So who have this lithium? Only three, I would say three places or three geometric areas. They have this particular resources. One is Australia, then China, and then the Latin America. So in Latin America, Chile and Argentina. So these are the two particular continents. They have this most of the resources of lithium. And just imagine what will happen with the other countries who doesn't have the resources of lithium. So they are not going to, they will not unable to, like manufacture the batteries. So what is going to happen is like, we are not going to have enough resources to fabricate the lithium ion batteries. So this is the first problem. The second problem is we are going to, what we are going to do when these batteries are going to be expired. So either we are going to dump them or landfill them. And that is what we are going to waste our resources. That is really very important, that we are going to waste all these resources, all this lithium, cobalt, nickel, manganese. They are very expensive minerals. We are simply going to dump them. The third major issue is going to be the environment. The reason for this is in lithium-ion batteries, there is an electrolyte, and that electrolyte is based on the carbonates, and that carbonates are actually the cancer agent. So they are carcinogenic materials. So this is going to be the really very big problem where we are going to have this issue of the health issue. So we are wasting the resources, we are damaging the environment, and we are also damaging the human life. So this is, and why this is happening is because of the lack of technology, capability, and capacity. So at this point, nobody is planning about the battery recycling. Everybody wants to get a benefit from the battery manufacturing. But these are the problems which we are going to face in the next 5 to 10 years. So we really, this is the knowledge gap. This is the major problem every country is going to face. What are actually the issues we are going to face? You can see this almost, as I said, this lithium-ion battery recycling market is going to be 23.72 billion by 2030. There was a time, I guess, in 2018, around 2018, I visited Germany. So it was a seminar arranged by Samuel de Leon, which is an Israeli company, and they are very much into this business of battery manufacturing. And the guy who was the owner, the CEO of that company, Samuel de Leon, he was already there. And he asked a question to the audience, like, who wants to be a billionaire? Of course, everyone wants to be a billionaire. So he asked a question, who wants to be a billionaire? So whoever wants to be a billionaire, he or she should be into the business of the battery recycling, because there is no critical industry, there is no infrastructure, there is no strategy, no governments, nobody have a clue that what they are going to do with these all dead batteries after 5 years. And just imagine, these all electric vehicles, they need almost 2,000 to 3,000 units of the batteries, one car. So, and that will have that will have 15 to 20 modules. So this is going to be, this scale of the problem is going to be really very huge. And then we don't have the resources to manufacture the new batteries because they are very much limited. So let me give you an example. So as I said, unless and until we are using these lithium-ion batteries into a small devices, there is no problem. We still have enough lithium, we still have enough minerals. But what are the components of the batteries which are expensive and which we need to resource them, or which we need to think about resourcing or recycling them? So just imagine that until we are using the lithium-ion batteries into the portable devices, there is no problem. But when we start to use the lithium-ion batteries to store energy from the solar, or for example, if we start to use the batteries for the electric vehicles, then these batteries are going to be too much expensive. Where the cost of the batteries goes. So for example, if we buy a car of $1,000, the 33 to 40% of the total cost we are actually paying, which is going to be for only a battery. So for a battery, you can imagine that 50% is going to be only for a battery, and rest we are just buying some fiber bodies. Otherwise, the rest is all battery. So the most cost effective or most expensive part of these devices is the batteries. And what exactly which part of the battery is really very much expensive? And this is I just try to make a very simple schematic of a lithium-ion battery so that you will understand what exactly inside the battery. So there are two electrodes. One is anode and cathode. So anode is graphite. So that is the reason the Japanese he got a Nobel Prize for. So graphite is the anode material. First battery came into the market in 1990s. Today is 2021. From last 30 years, we are using exactly same anode material, and which is graphite. There is no alternative we could find in last 30 years. The reason is graphite is really very, the intercalation potential of lithium intercalation potential into the graphite is at a really low voltage, really low potential with respect to lithium, and that is the reason we are still using a graphite. It's extremely stable material. Okay, so what is the other components of the batteries which are very expensive? The cathode materials. So the first battery came into the market, and that battery had lithium cobalt oxide as a cathode material. And in this lithium cobalt oxide, cobalt is the most expensive mineral. The reason is because it is only mined in Republic of Congo, in South African part. So that is the only place where we get the cobalt, and that is the reason the cobalt is extremely expensive. And what happened is, like, almost 50% cost of the battery, it goes to the cathode materials. So the most expensive part of the battery is cathode, but we shouldn't also forget the anode material, which is graphite, because graphite, to prepare graphite, we still have to mine a graphite, then refine it, and then we have to develop a high quality graphite material, and that refinement happens at around 3000 degrees Celsius. So it is again expensive. So these two electrode materials, graphite and cathode, which is the lithium intercalated metal oxide, these are the two very expensive materials which we need to recycle. We need to think about a recycling. Just imagine that India doesn't have any mining of critical minerals, that very important minerals. We don't have nickel, we don't have a cobalt, we don't have a lithium. So the country like India, if we want to manufacture batteries for ourselves, then we have to resource them. We have to recycle these batteries, and we have to bring that minerals into the market so that we can manufacture our battery by ourselves. Okay, so what is the problem with the battery technology? For example, if somebody decides to recycle the battery, the problem with the batteries are there are two major challenges with the batteries. First challenge is the battery design. So batteries are designed in 4 different ways. One is the cylindrical cell design, second is a prismatic cell design, third is a pouch cell design, and then the point cell design. So it is very difficult because of this diversity or difference in the cell design. They are really very difficult to recycle because of the different geometry. The second major problem with the lithium-ion battery recycling is their cathode material. So as I mentioned, that only one anode material we are using from 1990 until 2021, but there are 14 different cathode chemistries so far has been developed. So it was started with the lithium cobalt oxide, but then lithium iron phosphate, and these are the different cathode chemistries. So currently Tesla batteries, they are using this one, lithium nickel manganese cobalt oxide. So they come with a very nice composition. This is what they call as a 111. The reason they call it as 111 is all the ratio is the same. Then they said 531. So this is 532. So this is how they configured this NMC. And this is the material currently Tesla is using in their battery. But just imagine if we want to have this battery manufacturing facility, we can't have different facilities for a different cathode chemistry. We have to have one facility which can recycle all the cathode chemistries. So normally what happens is, like, we collect the batteries, we discharge the batteries, we crush all the batteries together, and then we start to separate each component of the batteries. Okay, so nickel, manganese, cobalt, all of them are transition metals. They all are in the range of 21 to 30 atomic numbers, and their ionic radius, their electrochemical potentials, everything is very close. And because of that, it is very difficult to separate them from the mixture. So these are the two major challenges that all industries they are facing to separate these materials. So just imagine what exactly these materials and what are the composition of these cathode chemistries. So as I mentioned, so lithium iron phosphate is so far very famous cathode chemistries because iron is very cheap, and these phosphates, it works very nice. Another important characteristic of this battery is the charging and discharging rates are very fast. Not very fast, but it is still fast as compared to the lithium cobalt oxide batteries. And the other batteries, the lithium LiNMC, they have really very high working voltage, and that is the reason they can store a large amount of energy. The reason Tesla is using NMC is because it works at a high voltage so that it can store a large amount of energy. If it can store a large amount of energy, we can drive our vehicle for a longer distance. So that is the reason this has been used. So let's assume that. So this is what I said already. So we have a really limited resources of these all minerals. So we have what we have. So Argentina, Chile and Australia and others like China and then other countries, they have really highest sources of this lithium. But graphite, India have a small amount of graphite share, and then nickel, cobalt, and manganese. As I said, nickel, manganese is really very less in the other regions of the world. But this Republic of Congo, they have the maximum resources of cobalt. So that is the reason the current batteries which are coming into the market, they are cobalt-free cathode materials. But it's okay. We are trying to make cobalt-free cathode materials. But what if we could recycle these materials and we could reuse them to fabricate or to manufacture the new batteries? We have recently submitted one India-Australia project. I don't know what is going to happen with this project, but we have submitted a project where we try to solve the problems of two countries from IIT. So there are some researchers who are participated from the IIT. So IIT Madras and the QUT. So we are participating together to solve this problem. So this what is lacking is, first thing is we don't have a process, or we don't have enough solvent, or we don't have green solvents which can actually leach out these metals, and then we can use them to manufacture or to fabricate the new cathode materials. These are the actually three basic fundamental methods people are using all around the world to recycle the batteries. So pyrometallurgy is very famous, very well-known method. So its pyrometallurgy is nothing but just melt everything or carbonize everything into the air. So what happened is, like, all components like a graphite and then plastic separators and electrolyte, everything is just smoke out, and what we can collect is only the minerals. Hydrometallurgy is pretty very good so far, and people are preferring this technology. The reason for this is because this can be is a separation, solvent separation and purification technology, where we firstly dissolve all these metals into solvents, for example, HCl or any aggressive solvents. And then what we do is we start to separate them or precipitate them and collect these materials. And third is the direct recycling. This is one of the technology my group is focusing on. So what we are trying to do is we are collecting the materials and we are trying to reuse them directly into the batteries. So these are the three actually methods which are very famous around the world for the battery recycling. So as you can see, in the worldwide, these are the different countries or continents. They are actually started to use these battery recycling technologies. So United States is there. In Europe, there are several countries who has already started to recycle the batteries, and then there is some small part in Asia. So mostly in South Korea and then Japanese, they have started to recycle these battery materials. Not even in Australia, there is nothing so far in India started to recycle the batteries. So there is still an opportunity where we should start to recycle the batteries. Okay, so these are the pros and cons of the different pyrometallurgy, hydrometallurgy, and direct recycling of lithium-ion batteries. Pyrometallurgy is a very good technique, but the problem with this is the leaching efficiency is very poor. So only 15 to 16% of part of the battery can be recycled, but the rest of the hydrometallurgy is pretty good. So around 90% of the part, 90% part of the batteries can be recycled. But at the same time, we have to use some aggressive acids and alkaline solvents to leach out these materials. So my group, we are actually trying to put all the pieces together, and we are thinking that first question is this recycling or recovery process is beneficial or no, or is better just throw our batteries and just buy new batteries. But again, we will have less resources to manufacture the new batteries. So what we have started to do is we are exploring a new solvents so that we can effectively extract all the materials, and then we can reuse them into to manufacture the new batteries. So this is how my group has started to work. So what we did is, firstly we did some literature review, and what we found is most of the times people are using the sulfuric acid or some aggressive solvents to leach out this kind of cobalt or nickel and lithium. So these are the leaching efficiencies most of the times people are using. But instead of that, my group has developed a new solvents, which we call it as a deep eutectic solvents. So I will introduce you with the deep eutectic solvent. This is the new solvents we have recently introduced. So they are really very easy to prepare. So they are very much similar to the ionic liquids. I don't know how many of you know about the ionic liquids, but they are analogous to ionic liquids. But ionic liquids are pretty expensive, and sometimes it is very difficult to prepare them. Sometimes we need a special environment to prepare the ionic liquids. But deep eutectic solvents are pretty easy to prepare. It is just two salts. We mix them together, and in such a way that they comes to their eutectic point. This is what we call the eutectic point. So two solids comes together, and at their eutectic point they melts, and they forms a liquid. So this is how the deep eutectic solvents can be prepared, and they are not pretty new. So they are already known from 2003. It was first reported in 2003, but they have been used in several different applications. But recently we started to think, would it be possible to use these solvents to leach out the metals? And then while doing what we saw is, okay, so this is one of the review article we have recently published, where what we did is like we reviewed all the deep eutectic solvents so far has been used for the recycling of lithium-ion batteries, but at the same time they can be used as an electrolytes into the lithium-ion batteries. They can also be used as an electrolytes into the supercapacitors, and they can also be used in metal leaching. And we are also using these deep eutectic solvents to clean the biomass, so bio waste, so that we can get rid of all the inorganic impurities, and we can actually play with the surface characteristics of the material. So in our group, we have recently reviewed this, and then we realized there was a first report came where very simple deep eutectic solvent with the choline chloride. I don't know how many people know about the choline chloride. Choline chloride is nothing but it's a chicken feed. It's a chicken feed. It's very biodegradable salt, is biodegradable material. So what we did is like we just combine this choline chloride with ethylene glycol, and then it simply forms a liquid at the room temperature. And what we did is we found the report that they could recycle the cobalt. And very interesting part of this investigation was, after dissolving the cobalt can be precipitated out as a powder, and then this deep eutectic solvent can be reused to dissolve the cobalt. So this is a recyclable recyclable solvents, and that's why this is very important. So this is another investigation where people has used different forms of different times, different temperatures, and they started to recycle a different kind of cobalt, and then nickel, then lithium, and then lithium and manganese. So in our group, what I will do is I will give you some examples like how we started to do this research, and what exactly new research or new results we found. So this is our strategy. So what we did is like what we want to try. We already have a different cathode materials or graphite, and then we want to use a deep eutectic solvents, but we don't want to use only a deep eutectic solvent, because deep eutectic solvents are really very slow. So they leach out the metal, but the reaction kinetics is really very slow. So in collaboration with one of our professor, Ken Ostrico, what we are trying to do is we are using a plasma. So plasma to accelerate the reaction kinetics. So plasma and DS. So this is the first combination which we tried recently, and it gives us extremely nice results. So we could dissolve this whatever the metal is, without any problem. And this deep eutectic solvent we have chosen in such a way that the one deep eutectic solvent can dissolve only one metal. For example, we choose one deep eutectic solvent which can only dissolve cobalt, and then another deep eutectic solvent which can only dissolve iron. and then third depleted solvent which can only dissolve manganese. So what will happen is like one by one, we don't need to separate them, so it will automatically dissolve one single metal, critical metal, and that's how we can collect all this mixture here, and then we start to extract the different metals. So this is the project which we recently proposed, and this is the one of the technology which what we wanted to progress, where we want to demonstrate that how we can recycle or recover the materials and how we can manufacture the new cathode materials to manufacture the new batteries. So these are some examples which my students and my postdoc they have recently did. So firstly, we started with the simple graphite. So we recovered the graphite from the batteries, and then firstly we analyzed it because we wanted to see if there is all the structural and surface characteristics of the graphite are same, so that we can reuse them. So we found, okay, with the Raman analysis, we found that the structural characteristics are perfect. And then we did some high resolution transmission electron microscopy where we realized that the interplanar spacing normally in carbons is 0.33 nanometers, but in our case, we found 0.36 nanometer. And this can be because of the continuous intercalation and de-intercalation of lithium. So what is mean by that is, for example, we normally charge mobile in the morning. So in the evening, the mobile discharges, and the next day we charge it again. So we put the lithium in with the discharge, the lithium comes out, then we put the lithium inside again, and then it comes in the discharge. So it is the process of lithium intercalation and de-intercalation, and this process expands the graphitic structure. So we took an advantage of this expanded structure. So what we thought is, instead of putting this graphite back into the lithium-ion batteries, why not to try some new battery technologies, some new next generation battery technologies, because lithium is very limited resources. So why not to try a sodium or maybe potassium-ion battery, which is very much everywhere. And and maybe if we could get a breakthrough, we may move from lithium-ion batteries to sodium-ion batteries, or maybe we can move to the potassium-ion batteries. So first study, what my researchers did is we tested this material into the potassium-ion batteries, and the results were magnificent, because you can see in this case here, this is the capacity we measured. And as I said in the beginning, the lithium intercalation potential is very low, and we found the similar mechanism into the potassium. The potassium intercalation into the graphite is at a very low voltage, and this is very good because this kind of materials can give us a very high energy density. Very interesting part was the capacity. So the capacity we received, it is around 400 milliamps hour per gram. Okay, you don't need to worry about the number. So this number is what exactly it is like. This capacity is exactly same, or I would say is very close to the lithium-ion batteries. And what we did is we did some cycling test, and based on the cycling test, we found the material is working perfectly nice, and it can demonstrate very nice cycling stability. And we compared our results with the literature, and the performance of the recycled graphite was extraordinary. We got extremely good performance as compared to the all values reported for a different kind of carbon materials or different materials for into the potassium-ion batteries. But in addition to that, we also wanted to see what exactly happening. So it is the same reaction what happens when the lithium intercalates into the graphite. Exactly the same reaction happens for when the potassium intercalates into the graphite, or it happens some kind of different reaction. So my postdoc, David, what he did is he recently developed this in-situ X-ray diffraction technique at QUT. So he bought this cell, and with the help of technician, what they did is like they made in-situ lithium-ion battery. What is mean by in-situ is, because we know that battery discharges and battery charges. Okay, so but exactly what happens inside the battery, nobody knows exactly what happens with the material when it stores the charge and it releases the charge. So we wanted to see what exactly the structure of these materials is changing. And this was very impressive, that we could found that with the charging and discharging, this graphite is actually changing its phase and coming back. So you can see here, this is the characteristic peak of graphite in XRD. Okay, so what happens is, like, once it starts to discharge, you can see this peak splits into two. So one goes here and one goes here. So this is complete discharge, and once it is discharged, it starts to charge again. So it comes back. to its original position. So this mechanism is exactly, so this mechanism we call it the armchair mechanism, and this mechanism is exactly same like a lithium. So it means in future we can imagine that we can develop a potassium ion battery which can be an alternative for the lithium ion batteries, because the potassium behaves exactly same way as a lithium. But the surprise is sodium doesn't behave like that. So lithium, then sodium, and then potassium. But sodium behaves totally different. Sodium is not favorable to store into the graphite, but potassium can. So it means we can develop a potassium ion battery technology exactly similar like a lithium ion batteries. So after this analysis, we thought to test these materials into the aluminum ion battery. So aluminum ion battery is one of the great technology which is recently people are started to think about. So why the aluminum ion batteries is very important. First thing is we can use the aluminum as one electrode, and then there would be a cathode material, right? And then the good thing about aluminum ion battery is it's very safe. The aluminum is very safe. We can open the battery anywhere, any place. If there is no any safety issue, the battery cannot be exploded or it cannot get any fire, because the electrolyte is safe, and lithium is the aluminum and then the cathode material, everything is the same. The only problem with the aluminum ion battery is we don't have a suitable cathode material which can store the aluminum. So we tested this graphite material and it really works very nice. Of course, the performance wasn't really very much impressive as the potassium, but we could still use the recycled graphite as a cathode material to store the aluminum. Okay, so this is the one of the battery we regularly see everywhere around us, which is a nickel metal hydride battery. So this is also very famous battery, and this battery is also been used for a very long time. This has been used in the space applications. So this nickel, metal, and hydride. So metal is normally the rare earth metal, and then nickel is the main component in these batteries. So what we thought is like to recycle this battery and see what materials are inside and to test try these materials for a different battery chemistry. So we took out the material, we just pre-treat it, and we found that this is a nickel, which is nickel oxide, and then there is a small peak here which belongs to the rare earth metal. So we got a nickel oxide which was in the nano form. And then what we did is we tested this material into the lithium ion battery, and this material is performing extremely great into the lithium ion batteries. We did a really very nice and thorough analysis. Now my student and they are actually performing the in-situ characterization so that they can see what exactly happening with the material. We did a tested this material into a new electrolyte. This is one of the very important thing people or researchers needs to think about is an electrolyte, because all the electrolytes used into the lithium ion batteries, conventional electrolytes, they are carbonate based, and that carbonate electrolytes are flammable. So that is one of the reasons that Samsung note incident happened. The reason was the electrolytes are flammable carbonate electrolytes. So in my group, we recently developed these new electrolytes. We call them as diglams. So these diglam electrolytes, they are non-flammable. So we just wanted to see if this electrolyte performs exactly same way as the conventional electrolyte. Yes, but the performance is a little less, but still these electrolytes are, because what is important is that they is the safety. And that is the reason these electrolytes are really performing well. And then the cycling stability is also pretty interesting. So what we have done is, like, if you are interested to go through our investigations, what you can do is you can just follow our research publications where we have already put all the pieces together, and what we explain the way that how we can recycle these materials and how we can test them with these materials and how we can make a new batteries. So this is one of the research articles where we summarized all the battery recycling technologies. Then we tested this spent graphite into the aluminum ion batteries, and this is eutectic solvents which we have recently developed to recycle the batteries to leach out the metals and fabricate the new batteries. We, as I said, we also put this recovered graphite into potassium ion battery anode materials. This has been recently published, just last week has been published in Batteries and Supercapacitors. So this is a new journal with impact factor around 7 or 8, And this journal has recently invited me to join as the editorial board. So most probably from in the new year, from January 2020, I'm going to join as one of the editorial board into the batteries and supercapacitors. So this is very very good journal. So we recently published this work into this journal. So what I can conclude is based on our investigation that battery recycling is really very profitable in terms of economy, because we can recycle the resources, environmental benefits, of course, the social benefits, because it can create new jobs. Because it will be a new industry comes with a new jobs, but definitely we still needs to, there is still a need of research where we can develop a new processes to recover the materials. New alternative solvents, definitely we are working on the eutectic solvent, but there are new solvents needs to be developed which can selectively leach out the materials. And we need a knowledge leverage and wise strategies policies to develop this recycling and repurposing of critical minerals, so that in the future we can manufacture our own batteries. Just as as I gave you an example about the countries like India or Australia. Even Australia have only lithium or some other minerals, but they still need to recycle all these batteries so that it can be we can manufacture the new batteries. So yeah, definitely I would like to acknowledge all these funding partners and my collaborators, so that because of them we could do this all research. And I would like to thank all these funding partners. This is my group. We are growing so fast. So we have almost now 4 postdocs. So three of them are here, and next one more is going to join in January 2022. We have 3 new PhDs and 2 more PhD positions going to be open in January, and we also have 2 MPhil scholarships which will be open in January. So borders are opening, so international students can apply. So I would definitely thank all my team members who can actually make this work happen, and so that I could talk to you today. So if you are interested, please feel free to visit my profile, university profile, as well as you can search on the Google Scholar. So you can go through the publication list of the publications, and you can get more information. If you have any questions, please feel free to write me an email. And I would like to thank you all for your attention, and thanks to all the organizers. I would be happy to take some questions if anyone have. Thank you very much.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear. Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Deepak, for giving a nice talk on battery recycling. To all the participants, this session is open for discussion. If you have any doubts, if you want to ask any questions to Dr. Deepak, you are just welcome. Please feel free to ask questions to him. Hello. Participants, please ask any question, any query related to the talk given by Dr. Deepak Dubal on battery recycling. Okay. If there is no question, I would like to express my sincere thanks to my friend Dr. Deepak Dubal, who is an eminent scientist. He has just now delivered talk on the topic battery recycling, in which he has covered some important areas such as need of energy sources, lithium ion batteries as a source of energy, what are the problems associated with wastage of lithium ion batteries, need for recycling the batteries, what are various types or technologies to recycle, what are prospects for Indian researchers in the field of battery recycling. I am really grateful to you, sir. And Dr. Deepak, sir, has always helped me in whatever kind I demand. He has given so far 2 to 3 lectures in our college, innovative lectures, innovative talks in offline mode also. So I am very much thankful to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much to chairperson of this session, Dr. C.R. Bobde sir, Head Department of Physics, Balwant College Vita, to nicely chair the session. Thank you very much to resource person, Dr. Deepak Dubal sir, Associate Professor, former VC Fellow, Marie Curie Fellow, Spain, Alexander von Humboldt Fellow, Germany, School of Chemistry and Physics, Queensland, University of Technology, Australia, to nicely give information about the topic battery recycling. Thank you very much once again. Wish you all the best, sir. Now, let us take a short break of 10 minutes and we will join again at 2:30 p.m.
अहो एसटी चालू नाही की काय करणार आता सरांच्या बरोबर चर्चा झाली परकडे सरांनीच कॅटलाईट घेऊन गेले होते तर ते म्हणले
We will start this session within 5 minutes. So I requested all to join in time. For this second session, we have a resource person, Honorable Navi sir, Dr. B.S. Navi sir from Belgavi. I welcome all the participants for the second session of this conference. Welcome you all for the third International Multidisciplinary Conference on Emerging Trends in Humanities, Commerce, Management, Science and Technology. I welcome all the participants. Navi sir, are you there?
Navi sir, are you there? Navi sir. Now, I would like to request Mrs. R.H. Sawan ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, to chair this session with resource person, Dr. B.S. Navi sir. Over to R.H. Sawan ma'am. It's an immense pleasure to me to introduce today's resource person of this session, Dr. B.S. Navi sir. He is from Rani Channamma University, Belgavi. His qualification is MCom PhD. Besides, he passed a SLED examination in 2004. He has been awarded PhD from Karnataka University. He has 20-year teaching experience and 11-year experience of research. He has presented 21 research paper in international conference, 66 research paper in national conference, and 16 research paper in state level conference and seminars. Over 57 research articles have been published in ISBN, ISSN, and various reputed journals. He was academic counselor of YCMOU. It's my pleasure to tell you that he has published 5 books for BCom and BBA courses. He has shouldered various responsibilities as member of All India Commerce Association, New Delhi, member of All India Accounting Association, Bangalore, life member of India Red Cross Society, member of BOS. He has given his contribution in social activities as NSS program officer and participating in various camps like blood donation camp, tree plantation programs. He has been honored with state level Shikshak Bhushan Award in 2012 from Shikshak Vikas Parishad Goa and also honored with Best NSS Officer in 2011 from Rani Channamma University, Belgavi. He is PhD guide at Department of Commerce in Rani Channamma University. He evaluated best theses of various universities. He has enjoyed different responsibilities like Principal, Islamia Arts and Commerce College, Belgavi, NSS Coordinator, and KSET Nodal Officer, RCU, Belgavi. It's our proud privilege to have him as a resource person. Thank you. I would like to request to Dr. Navi sir to guide us Navi, sir.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Okay. Am I audible, madam, now?
Yes, sir.
Is the screen is visible? Good afternoon to all of you. Ma'am, screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Rayat Section Sansthas, Balwant College, Vita, the third international multidisciplinary conference on emerging trends in humanities, commerce, management, science and technology 2021. Respected chairperson of the technical session, Dr. Chavan Madam, the convener of this third international multidisciplinary conference, Dr. V.B. Patil sir, co-convener of this third international conference, Professor D.T. Devkate, organizing secretary of this international conference, Dr. C.R. Bobde, coordinator Sartape sir, local organizing committee, Dr. Shreya Patil madam, from the last 1 week, who is coordinating with me and making me to join as a resource person for this technical session. Hope from the morning, all of you are busy with various technical sessions, and along with the inaugural session. I think this is the fourth technical session where we are going to find some of the emerging trends in e-commerce activities. I think the humanities, commerce, management, science and technology are developing at fast rate. We are finding many changes because the capacity of the human beings in the operational activities in presenting themselves is changing over a period of time. The commercial activities also, we are finding that there are various innovations and recent developments which we are finding, and those developments are assisting in the development of Indian economy. So is the case with management, science and technology. The various fields of economies are assisting in the development of Indian economy, and among that, presently we are finding that e-commerce is playing an important role in the development of Indian economy, and also along with that, it is supporting for the true conduct of various kinds of activities, and that is fulfilling the needs and requisitions of the people. We all know that commerce is simply buying and selling of goods and services through the various auxiliaries we are going to take, and those auxiliaries are supporting all the people for fulfilling their needs and requirements. So by keeping in mind how the e-commerce is supporting in routine business activities, and how it is assisting us for taking the commercial activities to the developed situation, and also along with that how it is helping us for the purpose of meeting the requirements of the people. Thinking these thoughts or keeping these thoughts in mind, my presentation is outlined with some important aspects. Why? Because we are finding or we are understanding the trends or the changing scenario of e-commerce, and for that purpose I wanted to have the bird's eye view, that is the introductory part of this e-commerce activity, by considering origin as well as types of e-commerce. And very importantly, we are finding that how e-commerce is leading, because presently we are experiencing that the people are not visiting to the regular markets. They are always be in touch with the digital markets, and they are buying the goods which are required and selling whatever the goods they are possessing through the digital mode itself. So for that, we will have idea or thoughts regarding emerging trends of e-commerce, and very important for us, what will be the fate of this e-commerce, that is future of e-commerce. By considering this, we will see that how e-commerce is going to be helpful in individuals needs and requirements here. As I referred, this e-commerce is commonly, everyone, when we are going to consider e-commerce, it is commonly considered as electronic marketing. Why? Because only we are involved in buying and selling of goods and services over an electronic system. That is just the internet and the computer networks we will have, and through that we are going to buy and sell the goods here. See, this is just the, we may take the 1990s period. During that time, when the internet and the internet was boosting, and some of the connections were given in offices or in major marketplaces, the people used to tell that if you have given me a landline connection and with internet connection, that is landline, internet and computer system, computer. So if these three things are provided, definitely I am going to lead my life without coming out of my house. So being in a single room, we can get fulfill our needs and requisitions by being in the house itself. Means no need to go out and buy for any of the goods and services. So that is the development of the e-commerce which we will find in the 1990s. Later on, what we are experiencing at present, how the e-commerce has developed, and to what way it has made us to get involved in various kinds of purchases or sale of the goods. So that we are experiencing at present. And very importantly, at present, from the last almost 2 years, due to this pandemic, majority of us are able to purchase the goods just being in the house, because there are many restrictions to the people. They should not go out from their houses, they should not come and wander, they cannot market openly. So because of all these conditions, people became habitual to be with the e-marketing activities or e-commerce activities. That is, being in house only, they are buying and selling the goods which they are in need. So that this e-commerce not only get restricts with the buying and selling of goods and services, it also helps in transmitting funds from one place to the another place, or from one person to the another person. And at the same time, the data can also be transmitted from one place to the another place through the electronic media or through the electronic network here. So that only all kinds of data exchanges, payments, payroll activities, buying, that is marketing activities. So every activity is done through the e-commerce platform only. So that only presently e-commerce and e-business terms are used interchangeably. And very importantly, the growth of this online market, what we are finding, it is categorized in different ways. That may be through the online marketing activities, or it may be through the advertising, online advertising. See, when we are going through the social medias, we are getting the marketing of goods and services, information related to the various goods and services, the advertisings of related products, the sale of that particular product. So that even social medias are also assisting in the e-marketing or e-business activity. Also, along with that, we are undertaking various kinds of electronic transactions, just to make the people to get convenience or to fulfill their needs and requirements. See, there are two terms. That is, one, as I have referred, e-business, and another is e-commerce. E-business, when we will take, because commerce is a part of business, so that only we may refer that e-business is a broader definition of the e-commerce, because it not just involved with buying and selling of the goods, but also with various kinds of activities that may be serving customers in different ways, collaborating various kinds of business partners, conducting various e-learning programs, and even having different electronic transactions within as well as outside the organization. So that e-business is a broader terminology where all kinds of transactions, activities related with the fulfillment of the requirements can be undertaken. Whereas this e-commerce is just the process of buying, selling, transferring, and exchanging the goods and services. And that is always through the computer networks, just by taking the assistance of internet. So that business is a broader term, and e-commerce is part of that, where we are going to have only few transactions here. To have more idea regarding this e-commerce, we are understanding the e-commerce transaction by different perspective. From the communication perspective, when we see the e-commerce, it is just the delivery of information, that is through the telephone lines or through the computer network or by any other means which is very comfortable with us. If we are going to deliver that information, so that itself is nothing but the e-commerce with respect to the communication perspective. And also we may find with respect to business perspective, that is application of technology towards automation of business transactions, that only buying and selling of goods and services, making various kinds of payments, advertising regarding the products, and just informing the customers regarding the various features of the product. So that all business related transactions, when we are going to make made available to the people or to the different kinds of the people, is considered as business perspective. Then another important mode of definition is online perspective, that simply gives its meaning in the word itself. That is, e-commerce is providing capability of buying and selling of the products and information through the internet. Means online, when we are going to make online transactions, we are in need of the internet here. And if we have the internet, through that we may undertake the buying and selling of the goods and services, and that also the e-commerce here. So that by finding e-commerce in a different perspective, just I am giving these three perspectives. We may take the electronic commerce in different perspective also. Whenever we are going to include the e-commerce activity for leading our life, for modernization of various business activities, for expansion of various business activities, for making the people to understand regarding various services of a company, we are going to take the assistance of this e-commerce, different platforms we are going to take, and through that we are going to have the transactions here. See, we all know this because commerce is a very wider term where we can find traditional commerce activity. People used to go to the markets and they used to buy the goods and services as per their requirement. Only when they will observe and they find comfortable with the market, they used to have the transactions, that is traditional commerce activities. Traditionally, they are involved in buying and selling of the goods and services. But presently, we are shifting it to the e-commerce, from traditional commerce to the e-commerce activity, where e-commerce is generally divided in internet commerce as well as mobile commerce. because even mobile is also dependent on the internet facilities only, but more specifically we are going to all mobile facilities, all mobile services, what we are considering, that is in the name of mobile itself, so that any kind of transactions which we are taking through the mobile is considered as mobile commerce here. Even we are finding that e-banking and mobile banking means any kind of banking transactions which we are going to make through the mobile is called as mobile banking. And when we are going to take the through the desktops, when we make the transactions, we are going to call it as internet transactions or internet commerce we are referring. So that only difference is mobile we are carrying wherever we are, and through that easily we are make it convenient to do the transactions as per our requirements, whereas internet we should go to the specific place, to the specific office, then only we can make the transactions, because we cannot carry on the PCs, but we may go with the laptops. But the difference what we can find is mobiles we are carrying wherever we are, and internet to the specific point or to the places we are going to make the transactions here. When it comes to the internet commerce, we will have two kinds of e-commerces. That is, one is business focused and another is consumer focused. Because the e-commerce activities which are concentrating much on the business activities, that is what the business does. When we will take the business that involves in buying and selling of the goods and services, it makes in making certain amount of profits, it get involves in fulfilling the needs and requirements of the consumers, so that what all responsibilities are there with the business, if the business undertakes its responsibilities and performs some task, it is considered as business focused e-commerce. Whereas when we will concentrate on the consumer focused activities, we may consider it as consumer focused e-commerce activities. So why we should use this e-commerce? What is the reason behind that? One thing, we all know all these things because everyone has experience, and we are so much perfect in the electronic e-commerce activities. Nobody can come and ask, or nobody can teach those particular kind of things. We have learned by ourselves. We are doing by ourselves. So even illiterate persons can also doing the e-commerce transactions through the mobiles. That is the power of e-commerce, what we can find, that is due to the digitalization era, or due to the pandemic, which has become an hindrance to the human life. Even it has created an opportunity to the people to get digitalized themselves, or to get involved in various kinds of e-commerce activities. One thing is that is low entry cost. See, when we will take the traditional commerce and e-commerce activities, traditional commerce means we should go where the product is available and then we have to make the transaction. So it involves various kinds of costs. That maybe just we have to leave our house, we have to go with the list, we have to take with the money, and we have to go with the bag to the traditional marketplaces and then buy the required products. That too by searching here and there. Means we have to spend some sufficient amount of time. So that the cost of entry, when it covers with the traditional marketing, it is going to be more. Whereas for the e-commerce activities, there is no entry cost, or we may say that sometimes very less entry cost we are going to find. Another is it reduces transaction cost, because many times you might be knowing that we don't have much transaction cost as far as this e-commerce is related. See, but too, we should be very intelligent to use those things, because if we don't search any options, don't find any options, whatever the things available in front of us, if we are gone making the transaction, then definitely that leads us to spend huge transaction costs. You should find some alternatives, and then you have to go with the specific sites or specific platforms, then you have to make use of that particular thing. So definitely it is going to reduce the transaction costs here. But only thing is what, we should be very much careful. Means we should not share any OTPs, we should not share any password, we should not share the IDs with the other people. So that if we are going to maintain certain confidential aspect, then definitely it helps us to do safe marketing with the e-commerce activities. Then another thing is access to the global market. See, traditional market in the sense just we should go to the specific market area. That may be the village market or taluka market or district market, so that we should get select and we should visit that particular spot. But for the e-commerce, the whole world is on our fingertips. Wherever we may find the place, then definitely we are going to get the what marketing of those particular activities. That is, we may make the transaction as per our requirement, so that the global market accessibility is very easy through the e-commerce activities. Then another thing is secure market share. See, majority of the people will get afraid to have the e-commerce transactions. But if you are careful, if you are precautionary in every respect, definitely it is going to provide you security, so that secured market share we are going to find with this e-commerce. So these are the few reasons which I am quoting. So because of these activities or these reasons, we should have the e-commerce activities here. When we will take the history of e-commerce, the beginning of e-commerce we find during 1960s. First time when the business has started with the EDI, electronic data interchange, and this has been made just with the intention to send the commercial documents to the other companies, that may be purchase order or invoices or the bills or vouchers. So whatever the transaction it may be, in 1960s through the EDI, the data or the information has sent from one company to the another company, and that has began or the beginning which we may find for the e-commerce activities. So later on, after 1960s, this EDI just has gained its importance, because majority of the people have started using, because 1960s very minimum number of computers we used to find, and even 1990 that has been expanded much. But after 1990s, we have found so much developments in the introduction of the computers, use of technology, and use of this e-commerce transactions for the business activities. Then we may find that Amazon.com was the one of the first e-commerce site which has started in US to start selling products online. And through that Amazon.com, the thousands of businesses have followed since since then, and presently there are n number of sites which we will find for the purpose of e-commerce transactions. Every business activity is using the e-commerce. It is taking the help of the e-commerce just to transmit the message, or to pass on the information, or to get involved in any kind of transactions, or even just to take services from the service industries also we are using the e-commerce. So that e-commerce is booming like anything at present environment. To understand this e-commerce in a better possible manner, we should see that how and what exactly this e-commerce is. We may find that through the e-commerce we will be able to find universal standards. Why? Because the people who are residing in foreign so-called well-developed companies, what kind of products they are using, even the rural Indian is also using the same kind of product. So that the standard of living of the people, the standardness of the usage of the products will be uniform throughout the world, because we know very well that the LPG has brought many changes in the standard of living of the people. It has become, the whole world has become a single village, and that has uniformly spread throughout the world, where we can have the same kind of the experiences what the people of big cities, metropolitan cities are experiencing. So that e-commerce has made the people to have the universal standards. Why? Because if today only I am keeping any kind of orders, then within a week, within a short span of time, I will be able to get that particular product, and I can fulfill my demand. So that the complexity is not there with the unnecessary aspects related with the e-commerce activities. We will be able to fulfill our requirements within a span of time here. And very importantly, another thing is this e-commerce is going to provide the information to any parts of the world. Whatever the kind of the information what we may have, that information is passed on to the different places because of the capabilities of the technological development, because of the amount of information what we are obtaining from the different places. Then very importantly, we may find that e-commerce is increasing the habits of the people, that is demands of the people, and it is improving the consumption habits of the people, and even it is assisting the people to have the good standard of living. That is nothing but the richness which is available with the e-commerce. Why? Because every content available on the e-commerce platform can be seen by the person, read by the person, analyzed by the person, understood by the person immediately, because the information, the e-commerce sites are with the full of information. That may be with videos, that may be with different text related to that product, that may be with different pictures and sounds which are available, and the links which are available to get it immediately, and various kinds of messages, so that all these kinds of informations have made the customer to become rich in his experience. Then very importantly, we may find that it is developing a good relationship. That interactivity is there, no, that is developing, that is expanding. A kind of relation is going on. See, whenever we will visit the certain e-commerce platform regularly and routinely, we will go and visit there only because we expect good services, and that we have experienced, and because of that again we are going to visit the same platform to order anything, to buy any kind of goods here. So that the thing is that the relationship between the consumer and the e-commerce site is developing, and it is increasing. Why? Because it is as good as face-to-face communication. Because if we doesn't know Amazon means what, everyone will tell that. Even illiterate person is also knowing that Amazon, Flipkart, different websites, different sites, platforms they are knowing, and through that they will order whatever the goods they require. So that interactivity is become very easy through the e-commerce sites here. When we will take the evolution of this e-commerce, first time in 1946, the first computer Indian has constructed at University of Pennsylvania. This is the first computer which has started, or which has established in the, or which has developed in 1946. And later in 1970s, the first application of EDI, because in previous slide I have given 1960, there the only the company, because to get developed, or there might be certain developments with a delayed presentation. So same is the case with the particular e-commerce sites also, because always what we accept is to which site or to which kind of activity we are more familiar. So those things only we are going to accept. Otherwise, we are not going to try that particular thing. Same is the case with this e-commerce also. Why? Because people were afraid to get involved in the e-commerce transactions or to use the internet here. So that we won't find much developments between 1960 to 70. Why? Because the initially trial was made in 1960 for electronic data interchange purpose, but after that exactly this EDI surface has started in 1970. And in 1984, this EDI was standardized with ASC X12, that is the software, and this has given a guarantee that companies would be able to complete the transactions with one another reliability. Because earlier how people will used to operate, if I pay the money, whether I'm going to get back my product or not. So that with that afraid, they means they are not able to book the articles, they are not able to book their orders. So later on, whenever the confidence level has developed among the customers with the e-commerce sites, then definitely the reliability has developed, and through that they have started ordering the products there. Then in 1989, a very short span we may find there, from 84 to 89, just in 84, the people have started using the internet, and the use of internet by the customers has exceeded 1 lakh in 1989. And later in 1992, CompuServe offers online retail products to its customers, because this has given a first chance to buy things off their computer. Means even in 1992, some mobiles were introduced during that time. Very rarely we used to find, and through that internet connection and everything was developed, and instead of using the computer, it becomes eligible to book the orders or take the orders of the different customers. In 1994, Netscape has came, and it has provided a base to the users, a simple browser to serve the various activities available on that particular Netscape, and that has made the people to browse the things and find the different kinds of activities or transactions which are taking place. In 1995, two of the biggest names in e-commerce, that is Amazon as well as ebay.com and amazon.com, were launched in 1995, and in 1998 DSL, digital subscriber line, which has provided the fast internet services, and that has developed with the various kinds of subscribers across California, and this has prompted the people to spend more time and money online. Why not? We may take an example of recent, when the Reliance Mobile has introduced, the company has made the people to get addicted with the internet facility, and without that, internet has become the life of the people, and without the internet facility they cannot live. So that kind of situation was created because of the introduction of Reliance Mobiles. Why? Because initially he has given 9 months free internet usage, and later he has extended 6 months. So after that he has started charging. So what happened there? The people have got addicted. People have got addicted, and they have started using the internet for all the time. So that only once Bill Gates stated that if you want to make the people to spend money, you have to give them money. So if you are giving a free service initially, that becomes a habit, and they will get ready to spend any amount of money on that particular habit. So is the case with this e-commerce activity, and presently we are finding that it is growing at very fast rate. 1999 retail spending on the internet has reached $20 billion, and in 2000 it has started. The internet taxes units at least has started, and 2005 360 million.com burst occurs. 15, it has surpassed 3 million people users. Then 17, some other e-commerce companies, giant companies were entered, that is like Flipkart, Snapdeal, and Amazon was introduced previously only. Then in 18, Amazon again beat Flipkart, which was recorded as the biggest e-commerce site in India in terms of revenue earning ability. In 2020, this Flipkart has heavily outsold Amazon by almost 2-1 by sales during festival retail season. So like that, the development of the e-commerce we are finding. And at present, we are expecting that during 2021, almost $111 billion growth, that is 27% growth we are finding in the e-commerce activity, and which is going to be expected till 2035, around 35% growth rate we are finding. That is a compounded annual growth rate of e-commerce is going to be 35% by 2035 here. And this has given whatever the history of e-commerce I have given, that we will find in 4 different waves. In the first wave, e-commerce has given learn to buy online. During this time, in the first wave, what people have made in 1995 around, during that time, people have tried to, and they have learned to buy goods online. They have not made how to get, from where to get, and what is the quality, what is the rate. They have not selected anything. Simply they have tried, they have put an effort to understand how the goods can be bought online. That is just by entering the different e-commerce portals and understanding that how the goods can be placed and the order, and after that how we are going to receive that, what are the payment facilities, how we can make. All these things were learned by the customers or the general public in the year 1995. That we may call it as a first wave, that is learning to buy through online. Then second wave we will find in 2006, and there people have learned. During this time the e-commerce has took the rapid growth, and that only we are going to call it as dot-com boom followed by dot-com bust. Why? Because initially it has started developing and later on it has got exploded. Means initially only the number of people were started using, and later on all the people were started using. So that only we are going to refer it as dot-com boom to the dot-com bust. And even in 2000, 2003, various types of newspapers we are getting just for the purpose of giving awareness regarding e-commerce transactions to the people of India. And in 2003, the signs of new life, that is sales and profit growth return, we will find 8, 9, then 2009, so much development we will find in the second wave. Third wave is related to we buy into stories. That is the theme what we can get in the third wave. We buy into stories in the sense that the companies should get popular with their histories. They should have certain backgrounds why they are making the people to get attract with that particular aspect, so that the milestone has created by the consumers to buy through the e-commerce wave, so that the stories were developed for the purpose of e-commerce activity around 2012. Then the fourth wave, what we are finding so far or at present is the fourth wave, and this is expanding as we are thinking, because whatever thoughts comes to our mind, that we can get it very easily by any means, very easily, and within a simple time or limited time here. So the fourth wave is taking its development in this particular scenario here. So when it comes to the this commerce types here, we may find that there are three major domains. One is government, another is business, one more is consumer. So that when we are going to take these three domains and get interact with those things, we can find that different types of e-commerce activities. That is one, we may say that government to government, because the first domain, horizontal and vertical lines you may find there. And when we are going to relate them, we'll find that government to government, government to business, government to consumer, business to government, business to business, business to consumer. So consumer to government, consumer to business, consumer to consumer. So that this 9 specific types of the e-commerce transactions we are going to carry on, that is just with the assistance of 3 major domains. Here we can find that how this business to business e-commerce will be. We will know very well that there are two persons. One is customer who wants to buy something, and another is the seller. We may call him as a wholesaler or retailer. So that in between these two persons, there are different kinds of transactions, and the different sites or the companies are going to get involved. And through them, they are going to make the things here. See, initially customer will ask some product with the seller, and if the seller know the availability of the product, immediately he is going to place an order to the concerned company through the website, and e-commerce site or the platform is going to get in touch with the business organization where the order is processed, and accordingly the goods are supplied to the wholesaler, then he is going to sell it to the consumer. So that here just business to business e-commerce, in the sense that one business is assisting the another business to get or to procure that particular product and supply it to the needy as per the requirement here. So that only we may say that it is the largest form of e-commerce. Business to business is the largest form of e-commerce. It is this model usually related with the buyer and sellers of two different entities, and that is going to help us to carry on the business to business transaction. Then another we may find that is business to consumer e-commerce. where again directly earlier in the business to business, we are having the wholesaler as an intermediary, but in business to consumer, we don't have any intermediary. Only the website is going to come in between the business as well as the consumer, and the consumer is going to place an order to the website, and website is going to place an order to the organization. In turn, organization is going to supply the goods to the consumer here. Then another important thing is that is a customer to business. Here what happens, usually the customer is directly related with the business houses. What is required, he is going to send an order directly to the business house, and accordingly he is going to receive the product here. So in between consumer and business, only the product and services. You can find in the second graph or the second figure what I have shown, in between consumer and business, we will find only product and service, because business supplies products and services to the consumer, and consumer supplies product and services to the business. Because to the business, the person who supplies is also consumer, and to the consumer who will supply is the business here. So that we can find here. Then another thing is business to government, where again website is going to be intermediary for connecting the business as well as the government, or fulfilling the needs and requisitions of the either the business or the government. Because sometimes business needs something from the government and government requires something from the business, and both the things are going to be fulfilled with the help of the website or the specific site to complete that particular transaction here. Then consumer to consumer, when we are finding, see, one consumer is having surplus goods, another person is having in need of those kind of the goods, but they don't know each other, where the product is available, what form it is available, how I should get procure. So one person doesn't know where to sell, another person doesn't know where to buy. So in between that, the website is going to help. I think you might be knowing that many people who doesn't go to sell their old products, and simply they are going to visit certain websites and they will place all the details of that product, and the same website details are going to be displayed to the other customers, and according to their requirements others are going to order and this person is going to send, so that the customers will be able to understand what is required and what to be sold. So both of them are going to interact with the help of this website, that is e-commerce website, that is considered as C2C e-commerce here. Then government to consumer e-commerce, this is when it comes, it is generally we are going to consider it as a part of e-governance. See, presently no person is going to be directed or governed directly. Through the electronic means only all kinds of activities are governed. So that the objective of this model G2C is to provide good and effective services to every citizen of a nation. So definitely what happens here, the government doesn't reach, or it doesn't fulfill all the people's requirements at a time by meeting personally, but through the websites, through the e-commerce sites, it can reach the number of people and fulfill the needs and requisitions of those people. And it is going to provide information to all the departments, and even it is going to be helpful for different welfare schemes. Then application form, say presently no students, when we are studying in the students are studying in the different classes, they are not able to understand that which scholarships were available, how to apply. Simply they are going with the documents to the internet center or surfing center, they are giving their documents and asking that person to fill the application form. See, literate persons are depending on the very means of the person who is knowing things very limited, and because of that what is happening, the various kinds of application forms are filled by the that surfing centers only, not by the people who have actual idea, who have knowledge regarding that. So that government to consumer is again helping in providing all the details to the citizens of a nation, and through that people are going to understand various facilities, various activities which are conducted, various schemes which are developed, and various programs which were developed specifically for the citizens of a nation. And by going through all these types, we will find some common problems in the e-commerce activity. One thing we may find that defective or wrong product delivery. See, this is taking place sometimes. Why? Because the person who is packing the goods or the person who is putting the parcel to the complete perfect address is going to get misplaced. So that this is just a chance. This is just a chance. What we are telling, the chance of defective or wrong product delivery can be understood here. Then another is refusal or replace the wrong product delivered. But I think probably we are not facing this kind of difficulty at this point of time. If whatever the product ordered by you and delivered to your destiny, if you are not going to get satisfied with that particular product, you can return it to the concerned business house within 8 days. And that facility, even they have delivered to you, and they will come and take back that particular product when you are going to replace that product, and when the product is wrong as per your order, or when the product is not delivered as per your specifications. And another thing is refusal or delay in refunding of money. This is now also we are experiencing, because many times it becomes delay in getting money through the online transactions. Because sometimes what happens, we will make the transactions and the amount will be deducted from our accounts, but that doesn't reach to the concerned party. It is not going to be credited to that party, and again we are going to pay it. So if we are going to claim that we are getting delay in those kind of transaction, and that we can accept here. Then another thing is unreasonable delay in delivery of the products, because nobody will ask the reason. Whenever you are ordering, simply you have to wait till you will get the receipt of that product, but you cannot ask. Simply you can claim something through the website, or you can find the destiny, or you can track the particular product where it is, but the delay why it has got, nobody is not going to answer for that. Then certain issues which are related with the guarantee and warranty of the products, if we are going to purchase on the online. Then some risky exposures of sensitive personal information are also possible through the online transaction. So that only I told initially only, we should be very careful while making the online transaction. That is, without showing or without giving our OTPs or passwords or ID to the other persons. Just we should keep with in a trustworthy format here. Then another important thing is how this e-commerce works. As I have referred, trust and loyalty is the one of the facet, because if we are going to make the convenience of buying, easy buying facility from the particular thing, then we should have a trust on the specific site. We should loyal to that particular business house. If we are going to place an order, definitely they are going to serve us. That trust and loyalty we should keep on the development facets of the e-commerce. If we doesn't have trust and loyalty, then we are not giving chance for the e-commerce to get developed here. Then another thing is accessibility and awareness. Then I feel these are the self-explanatory. Easily we are going to get understand simply by visiting to the specific site. Quality and benefits also means what kind of quality, what are the benefits available. The detailed information is displayed on that particular site. Simply we should take a time and go through that. And even security and privacy, if we are going to be conscious. So these are the facets or the parameters which are going to help us in developing the e-commerce activity. This is the process which we all know. The person is going to order, and that is going to be placed in the shopping cart, and through that we are going to use the credit cards or debit cards, whatever the net banking. Then order is going to be completed, and the same information is going to be sent both to the customer as well as merchant, and then it is sent to the warehouse information, and through the warehouse loading or shipping of the particular goods comes, and when the transportation takes, goods will reaches to the customer here. See, presently what happens, we doesn't know that what kind of person he is, and how he is, what is the position of his. Simply we will find in that, and we are making the transaction. So that the businessman we are keeping on the dark level, whereas we are on the transparent level. Why? Because we are paying money initially itself, and because of that we are going to get. There are options, even after receipt of the goods also we can make the payment, but e-commerce transaction we are not finding face-to-face recognition for making the transaction. So that only we will find some important trends in the e-commerce activities. That is, these are the few things which I are going to find. I will consider only important trends of the e-commerce activity. One thing we may find that the online sales growth is unstoppable. See, 1.3 trillion in 2014 we were having, and almost it is 4.5 trillion at this time. And from 2022, as I have referred you, 111 billion US dollars sales we are going to find. It means that by very short period, the online sales are going to get increased to the larger extent with 27% CAGR, compounded annual growth rate of annual sales is going to be 27%. Then future of e-commerce, when we compare, because from the last 2 years we are in the COVID-19 period, pandemic period, so it is expected that 25% rates are going to get increase. Means because of the penetration rates, the rates of the products are going to be almost 25% increase in the market till 2025. And now also we are experiencing the prices of the products were increased to the large extent by 20-25%. Almost they are going to be in 2020 15%, and it is going to be 25% in 2025. Then we can find that mobile shopping is growing at a faster rate, because people are very easy to operate and book the orders through the mobiles. So almost 73% boom we are finding only through the mobile shopping activities. Then rise of voice commerce, that also we are finding, because people are using different medias through which they are placing an orders. Simply opening the voice caller and placing an order, you are going to get the product at your destiny, and even that is going to increase at the faster rate. And the role of social media in e-commerce is also going to get evolved. Why? Because different social medias like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they are boosting number of social shoppers, and through that the people are going to get the information regarding the necessary products here. So that media is also getting involved, and it is bringing a very revolutionary change in the e-commerce transactions. Then environmental topics are also going to get influence the buyer. Why? Because if we are going to be safe towards if we are going to be safe towards various digital transactions, then definitely we are going to take care of our environment also. So that 50% of the digital consumers have stated, means whatever the survey which has conducted in 2018, it has referred that environmental concerns and their impact on the purchasing decisions can be understood through the environmental awareness activities. Then even the artificial intelligence, this is one of the biggest area which is booming at the fast rate, because majority of the companies are spending a huge amount on the artificial intelligence, which is going to help them to increase their sales, to expand their business activities from the existing position to the developed view here. So that artificial intelligence is also one of the means which is helping the businessman to get through the artificial intelligence activities. Then augmented reality is transforming how we are shopping. Why? Because all kinds of business houses are keeping the information related to their products, and they are giving information related to various kinds of product, and that is definitely going to boost the sales of the organization, and that is making the people to get believe in the particular transactions. And even personalization of the various kinds of transactions we can find here. majority of the people are experiencing the personalized views. They are having personal experience with the online transaction, and that is also another important trend we may find. Then very importantly, visual commerce is presently on rise. Why? Because the people want to see how the market is moving on, and they want to set a benchmark. So for that purpose, observation of the consumers is going to play an important role in the development of e-commerce, so that one should concentrate on the views of the consumers related with the activities which they are going to undertake. See, all these aspects, what we are finding, the trends, they are viewed in a different ways. See, we are going to have mobile commerce, then desktop commerce, then technological commerce, different kinds of commercial transactions we are going to experience by different means, so that the customer is keeping the whole world in his hand. Means wherever, however, whatever he feels, he can get order and get the product as per his choice. So that wherever the product may be produced, it is going to be on the fingertip of a customer. So like that, this e-commerce has given an opportunity to consumers to have the opportunity to use the products here. So again, just I'm highlighting the emerging trends here. Latest trends in the e-business activities: micropayments, mobile technologies, social media, fulfillment of options, global availability, localization, customizability, time-based availability. So that these are going to be the future trends what we are experiencing here. These are the common applications. See, when it comes to the future of e-commerce, we may find that it is going to get witnessed 22% growth in the employment sector alone, and it is going to create 1 million jobs by 2023, only e-commerce alone. So that the future of e-commerce is very strong, and the base has already created, and because of that we may find the bright future of e-commerce, which is going to be with all the people of India. It is going to be helpful to all the individuals in the Indian nation, or in the whole world itself, we may say. So definitely the e-commerce is going to gain much through the various kinds of transactions, and at the same time, even consumers are also going to be benefited much through the this e-commerce transactions here. So that only majority of the retail stores are going to get increased, sales are going to increase, different issues are going to be concentrated by the e-commerce activity, so that every field of activity is going to be touched by the e-commerce, and that itself is going to be the development science what we are going to find here. So ultimately we may find that earlier, when it has started e-commerce in 1960, it was an evolution, we told. It was an evolution in the field of activities, but now it is a revolutionary way. The e-commerce is spreading in a revolutionary way. Very fastly it is moving towards the different heads here. So just I have given various kinds of mergers and acquisitions in the Indian e-commerce. 14, 15, every year we are finding how the companies are going to be get involved in the acquisition aspect, and what is the total worth of them. So that the different companies are coming with the mergers and acquisition views, so that they can expand their business. They can reach every individual in the world. To that extent, this Indian e-commerce is spreading its view here. So simply we may say that with the advancement of the technology, this trend of the e-commerce or emerging trend, this advancement of technology is changing the consumer behavior, and definitely it is the need of the hour to keep an eye out of for these e-commerce trends, because people have to much concentrate on the changing attitudes of the people, changing attitudes of the consumers, and accordingly the businessman has to come up with the activities. So whichever the e-commerce trend we may decide to adopt, do it with the aim of improving shopping experience, whatever the e-commerce trend it may be, whichever the field it may be. But one thing we have to keep in mind, that should be made for improving the shopping experience of the customers, and that is going to build a long lasting relationship. Then definitely it is, along with that, it is going to take side by side development, evolutionary activities, and that becomes an advantage to these e-commerce activities. So my view is e-commerce is helping every individual to get fulfill his requirement, but only thing is what, it is a safe and very secure one. We should be very cautious, we should be very careful, and when we are going to think that it is very safe and secure, and accordingly if we are operating, definitely we are going to be very safe buyers or safe businessmen or safe consumers. So for that purpose, e-commerce, no doubt it is going to help us to increase the market expansion, to develop the market expansion, to help in the development of the revenue to the nation, and ultimately the economy is going to be made stronger by making the people to get according to their convenience, according to their requirement. So definitely the e-commerce is the trend what we are finding, which is going to influence everyone in the near future, and no people are going to be with the traditional method of marketing or buying or business activities. Everyone is going to be related with this modernized business facilities. So with these things, I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity. I think I have taken some 10 minutes. I have extended my talk here. Just pardon me for that. So I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to be a key speaker of the 4th technical session, that is on the emerging trends of e-commerce in India. Thank you, one and all.
Thanks, sir, for dealing your valuable thoughts about origin of e-commerce, basic concept related to e-commerce and different types of e-commerce, and latest trends about the e-commerce. Tomorrow is the National Consumer Day, but we are celebrating it today because of your valuable lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much to chairperson of the session, Mrs. R.H. Sawan ma'am, assistant professor, Department of Commerce, Balwant College Vita, to nicely chair the session. And thank you very much to resource person, Dr. B.S. Navi sir, Professor of Commerce, Department of Studies and Research in Commerce, Rani Channamma University, Belgavi, for such an informative session on emerging trends in e-commerce. Once again, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Now, I would like to request Dr. Shankar Shelke sir, Associate Professor, Department of Botany, Balwant College Vita, to chair the session with resource person, Professor Dr. M.S. Deshmukh sir, Professor and Head, Department of Economics, Shivaji University, Kolhapur. Over to Shelke sir.
Good afternoon, one and all. Today's speaker of the session, Professor Dr. M.S. Deshmukh sir. I will take the opportunity to introduce him in this international conference in the plenary lecture. Professor Deshmukh sir, he is a head in the Shivaji University, Kolhapur. He has completed his bachelor and master degree from Mumbai University. He is having vast experience in research. He is having 46 research articles in his credit with citation 85. He has presented research articles in various national and international conferences He is also an author for 19 reference books. He is in the capacity of different bodies in the Shivaji University, Kolhapur. He is also mobilized around 28.5 lakh rupees for various research projects funded by various agencies like UGC, ICSSR, and some consultancy projects in collaboration as well as individually. Also, he has recipient of the various prestigious awards like the Dr. Dhananjay Gadge Award for Research Paper in 2016, Radhakrishnan Gold Medal Award. He has also completed various consultancy projects in collaboration with the various departments of government of Maharashtra on impact of various developmental projects like irrigation, road development, micro irrigation, and their impact on society, funded by the irrigation department, PWD department, as well as the planning department of Kolhapur district. He is also having administrative experience in the capacity of the director IQAC in Shivaji University, Kolhapur. Also the in-charge director, innovation and incubation and linkages, Shivaji University, Kolhapur. He is also member of Senate, member of Academic Council, member of Secretary Board of Deans, National and International Linkages Board, member of Executive Committee, coordinator of Master of Rural Studies, member of Research Body, member of Internal Auditor, coordinator of IQAC, Department of Economics, advisor for the Staff Selection Commission, member of the Board of Studies in the Economics. With this brief introduction, I welcome Deshmukh sir in this plenary session. Now I request Deshmukh sir to begin his lecture. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for the brief introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes, sir.
The presentation sharing allow kara. At the outset, I am very much thankful to Principal Dr. R.S. More, Balwant College, Vita, for giving me the opportunity to share my views on the very first day of this international third multidisciplinary conference on emerging trends in humanities, commerce, management science, and technology. I am also thankful to the organizing committee of the Balwant College, Vita. As I have been asked to talk on a topic which is titled as Impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy. How much time I will be given? Half an hour?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
3:57. By 4:30 we'll finish. Fine. Now the title of the today's presentation is Impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy. As we all are familiar that this particular topic, which is very much important from the heart of each one, because everybody has gone through this pandemic situation, and being a what we can say here is a member of the community or the society, each one is worried about where and how the economy is progressing or the growing, how the pandemic which will affect the entire economy as such, and how the livelihood of the people which is getting changed, and how the different sectors of the economy which has been affected because of this pandemic situation, that may be agriculture, that may be industry, even that may be services like a trade, commerce, banking, etc. Some of the aspect related to each of the sector I will touch upon because I'm talking in general about the Indian economy and its comparison internationally. As we are familiar that our Indian economy, which was the largest growing economy in the world, talking about the economic growth point of view, and we're expecting that economy should have been cross its own double-digit growth if you have considered the tempo of growth what which are happening from the 2010 onwards and subsequently. But if you see the situation of our economy before the pandemic and after the pandemic, as well as during the pandemic, how we have been passed, try to elaborate something about that. So before the pandemic, here there was a routine life of the people which were there within a city or within the area or within the country. Some of the moment India was found to be a developing country. We know that here European countries or the SAARC countries, we have been categorized as a developing economy. So India being a developing country with all ways and mode in every industry or leading to the expansion happening across the globe. That was a normal situation before the COVID-19, and everybody was a little bit happy about their own work or their own lifestyle or maybe pattern. But after COVID-19, what has happened? Suddenly there was a lockdown, what we call as after the post-lockdown. What happened to our GDP? GDP has fallen over drastically. So as we know that most of the industrial activities, most of the trade-related activities, or some of the economic activities which has been shut down because of this lockdown, and definitely the impact which has taken place on the gross domestic product, and that has declined. So that was the case after COVID-19, and everybody has gone through this situation. Economy, which was already reeling under the huge distress, I mean, before the pandemic, what was the case? Due to some of the decision taken by the government, one was associated with the demonetization, otherwise it was associated with the GST, what we call as a goods and service tax. So these were the two things, and these were the two major policies which has been touched to everyone within the economy, either to some extent or to the larger extent, depending upon intensity of this. And immediately after that, we all have been come across that this COVID-19 case, and that is what which has been resulted into different kind of difficulties to most of the economies, including India. The national lockdown, as we know that, which was announced on 25th March 2020, that was the first announcement made by the central government, and subsequently the entire economy, which was, or entire country, which was moving from one place to another place, that has been shut down. And subsequently that has been extended further also in the month of May, then later on in the month of June, and so on and so forth. That was the extension which has taken place because the situation was like that. There was a spread of this COVID-19 virus which was taking place, and just to control that spread, this was the case which the government of India has adopted. Not only the government of India, even the entire world has come across about this. Some of the institution which has been calculated, or some of the institution which has been estimated that, for example, if you talk about MIT, so they have come across that 2.87 lakh, what you can call as early of 2021, which were the vaccine treatment given to this. India is one of the most affected country from this coronavirus pandemic, followed by what you can call as USA as well as Brazil, and more than 10 lakh reported cases which were coming out every day, and that was the highest peak in the month of January of the last year. This uncertainty has resulted various implications on the Indian economy, and as a result of that, there was a disruption which has taken place within the country, and because of that, both, as we know, the consumer as well as the producer, I mean the business community as well as the purchasing community, both were having the problem for this. And as a result of that, what has happened, there are certain international agencies, for example, FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization either, or the United Nations, what we call as UN, or some of the agencies, they have predicted that the problem which has been which will lead to the most of the economies, and that may be related to vulnerable people more of food crisis, and as a result of that, hunger, malnourishment. These were the problems in some of the countries which has taken place, particularly about South African countries or those countries which are the backward countries. These countries have suffered a lot during this pandemic situation, and most of the economies which has resulted into a slight reduction in their growth rate, and we are thinking that that reduction is going towards a recession or not, but some of the countries which has controlled that kind of situation. Some of the assumptions which the most of the economies has made during this pandemic situation, that there were the temporary drop in the number of hours of the work which would take place. Some other assumptions were that it was adversely affecting the private consumption of the people, and that was negatively resulted into consumers' behavior also. Purchases were been postponed. Some of the people which were putting their industries or investing their capital, they have not done because they were also in wait and watch situation. So their decisions, they have been either postponed or they have been cancelled. There was a cross-border trade, what we call as export and import, that was totally shut down because of this lockdown. There was no mobility of either goods or the services during this particular period. And that's why the exports were affected, imports were affected. Entire trade, either the domestic trade or international trade, or what we call as the world trade, that has also suffered. And as a result of this, most of the economies has suffered a lot. Either the trade was either in a deficit, but definitely that was not in surplus. If you see our India on the world map during this pandemic period, so we come across that after the USA, the world largest economy since 1871, USA is nothing but America I'm talking about, which was having the largest economy since 1871. Size of the US economy is somewhere around $21.5 trillion in the year 2019. And if you compare our economy with the USA economy, though we call as our economy the fifth largest growing economy in the world, but our size of the economy is somewhere around $3 trillion. So USA economy is $21 trillion. We are at a $3 trillion. That is at a number one. India is at a number fifth globally. So see the difference between the first and the fifth. So the 3 trillion and the 21 trillion is nothing but somewhere around 7 times the US economy is bigger than the Indian economy. So IMF has projected that in the year 2019 as well as in the year 2020 that as per the current prices, our GDP was $3,202 billion. And India's contribution in the gross domestic product, in the world's gross domestic product, I'm referring, is of 3.54%. And its share in the total size of population of the world is somewhere around 17.7%. Roughly, you can take 18%, which the 18th person all over the globe is of 17 people will find in total of 100 people in the world. And the service sector, which is the fastest growing sector within Indian economy. 50 years back, we come across that Indian economy, which was having the largest share of primary, agriculture sector, that was to the extent of 55-56%. And the remaining was industry and the service. But after the 50 years, the place of the agriculture is now taken by the service sector. And the service sector is mushrooming in India. What are these services? It may be trade, hotels, transport, communication, insurance, finance, banking, real estate, or social services, personal services, community-related services. So all these services, the share was somewhere around 60% and plus, and all these services were affected because of this COVID-19 pandemic. And the manufacturing sector, which was contributing nearly about 15% of that, 8% was the construction and quarrying and electricity, gas, water supply, and remaining was 5% to the extent of somewhere around total is of 28%. And if you see the per capita income at current prices of the year 1920, it was estimated that 1,34,222 rupees is the per capita of India as per the current prices. I'm not talking about the real situation, by taking the base year into. But the current prices, if you see, that was the figure we get. Moving further, and if you see that because of this pandemic and everything, most of the things were shut down, but definitely the cinema theaters were closed. Consumption were getting affected. Many people have resulted into job losses. And as a result of that, their income has been declined or that has been reduced drastically. There was a widespread fear and the panic in the minds of the community or the people. And overall confidence level of the consumers, which has been dropped drastically. And as a result of that, the consumers were not spending within the market. So their consumption were or the investment decisions were getting postponed. Travel restrictions were there. The people were not allowed to move from one district to another district or from one area to another area. That's why the transport sector was also affected. Hotels were closed. So there was no, the spending of the consumers either or the business people because of this. And all that has resulted into what you can call as a reduction in the circulation of money, or what we call as a transaction approach. As per the Keynesian idea, if we take into consideration, by most of the times the transactions were not taking place, and that's why the money was not moving from one person to the another person. If that was the case, definitely the circulation was also less. So that was the case during the pandemic and some of the decisions taken by the government of India and different states of the government of India. Going further and finding out because of this lockdown, how much cost the economy has incurred. And I have just estimated the cost during the first lockdown period. Subsequently, the cost has been not calculated in this presentation. So there are various agencies, for example, Acute Rating Research Limited. They have been estimated that the lockdown cost to the Indian economy was to the extent of 4.64 billion US dollar. It means roughly it is over rupees 35,000 crores every day. And if you see the first lockdown period, that was for the 21 days, very first lockdown which the India declared, that was for 21 days. And if you multiply 35,000 crores every day into 21 days of the first lockdown, then that amount goes up to rupees 7 lakh crores. How many days this lockdown was extended to that extent, we can get this amount. So you can multiply this figure with number of days of lockdown. But this was the initial stage of lockdown. The economy has a loss. We know that transport was also affected. So All India Motor Transport Congress, and that has also estimated first 15 days of lockdown. And their estimation was rupees 35,200 crores on an average. If you see 2,200 loss per truck or per lorry per day, then that comes around this. More than 90% or about 1 crore trucks in the country were off the roads. They were not functioning because of this lockdown. So there was a major loss to the transport sector also. Real Estate Development Council, their loss estimation was rupees 1 lakh crores. Confederation of All India Traders, their loss was 30 billion US dollars. Indian retail sector, their loss was, they are contributing to the extent of 70 million traders, small and medium traders, the sizes of 70 million, and almost employing 45 crores people within the economy. And their monthly business is approximately 70 billion US dollars. So if monthly this much is income, then you can multiply with number of months and see how much loss of this retail sector has taken place in India. The world's biggest lockdown may have cost rupees 38.50 lakh crores to the Indian economy during the first 110 days period. So this was the figure which was calculated for 110 days. If the number of days are more as a lockdown, then your figure will increase more than that. Moving further and talking about the business today's estimation related to the cost of the lockdown. So what they have estimated that mining and quarrying sector estimated loss was 0.31 lakh crores. Manufacturing sector, their estimated loss was somewhere around 2.16 lakh crores. Construction sector's loss was somewhere around 1 lakh crores. Trade, hotel, transport, communication, and other services related to even broadcasting, their loss was 2.42 lakh crores. Financial sector, real estate and professional services loss was 2.81 lakh crores. And total, taking these sectors into account, the loss was somewhere around 8.7 lakh crores. That was also the estimation given here. If you see the stringency index which comprises 17 indicators of government, 8 and 17 indicators of the government and 8 indicators of information on containment and closure policies like schools, movement, restrictions, etc. If you take the 4 indicators from the income support point of view and 4 indicators from the health related aspect point of view, then we see that this stringency index, which was at a higher side before April 2021, subsequently the stringency index started to go down, and that has declined to the extent of 76.39 in June 2020. If you touch upon the another important aspect of our economy, that's unemployment. It's very important to talk about unemployment rate, and that is what you can call as important aspect from the India's development point of view. And if you report the data from the CMI means Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, we come across that 122 million jobs were lost during the pandemic situation. And India's unemployment rate, which has been fell down from 8.6% at the end of the June to it has further increased to 28% in the early period of May 2020. So if you see that during the lockdown, unemployment rate which has been increased to the largest extent. According to ILO, what they have estimated related to unemployment is that the 25 million worldwide people which were been declared as unemployed, and that's why this is the graph you can see in this particular slide, which shows that here recovery was little less. Unemployment rate both in the rural and urban area, if you compare, because of immediately after the lockdown, we come across that in which area the unemployment was more. Definitely urban area, which was affected to the largest extent compared to the rural area. Unemployment was there in both rural economy as well as the urban economy, but it was more in urban area compared to rural area. If you see some of the indicators like the consumption of diesel and petrol, so we find that during the lockdown period, 60% reduction in the consumption of this indicator which taken place in our Indian economy. And particularly in April 2020, reduction was to the largest extent. Subsequently, as the reopening of economy started slowly and gradually, the reduction started to go down. It's nothing but consumption started to increase. Talking about the loan deposit ratio, that also one of the very important parameters to measure the growth of the economy. During the pandemic period, we come across that so far every ₹100 of the deposit, what the banks were lending, 74 rupees they were lending, and that lending amount subsequently, which has been slowly and gradually started to go up as the economy started to move further up. So NPA, which has been also affected the Indian economic growth, nobody was taking a risk to lend the money during this pandemic period. Even bankers were also taking a position not to take a risk. Even some of the banks were also closed during the core pandemic period, but subsequently they started to function, but risk-taking parameter was little less. If you consider subsequently the Shoppers Track Index that was associated with the Purchase Managers Index as well as the Manufacturing Index or the Service Purchase Managers Index, it is particularly associated with industrial production point of view, and that index was contracted, it was reduced to the extent of 55.5%, and definitely because of lockdown this has happened. But the Purchase Managers Index, which is a very important issue in this, because most of the purchase decisions were getting postponed either or getting cancelled because of this lockdown. That's why Purchase Manager Index, which has been drastically went down to 5.4, and Manufacturing Purchase Managers Index has declined to the extent of 27.4. So to that extent, there was a reduction in this Shopper's Price Index related to these parameters. Consumers Confidence Index, which the Reserve Bank of India has calculated. So as per the future expectations and the current situation during the lockdown period, the people were expecting in future the things will become normal, economy will come on a track. So their expectations were a little positive. And that's why future expectations index was 97.9% compared to the current situation index. I mean, there was a difference between current and the future. Future index was little positive. Talking about the GST collections, if you take this into account, we come across that the movement of goods and the economy opening up collection was little normal. That was to the extent of 90%. But April 2020, if you take that period into account, then we come across that the collection was 0.32. That was the lowest in the lockdown period. If you see the rural economy and particularly the various periods, what we call as Kharif period or the Rabi period, and take Kharif sowing period into account, we find that Kharif sowing area has increased to the extent of 50%. So during the lockdown, most of the sectors were got affected, but the rural economy and the farming community or the farmers were the only source who were providing or cultivating the farm and giving us the food grains, providing the food grains. There was a supply of food grains. That sector has not got affected. Sowing area has increased during that particular period. I mean, they have taken a risk and they have cultivated their plots, their land. And because of bringing area more under the cultivation, subsequently after 3-4 months, we will find that the fruits, what we are enjoying is the food grain production has increased. So that was the plus point what we can understand from Indian economy, particularly related to the periods. We know that the tractor is one of the vehicle which is highly used in most of the states, particularly Punjab and Haryana, where the green revolution and their output which has increased tremendously. But the purchase or the average sale of tractors in the first pandemic period, I mean the first lockdown period, which was very, very nominal. I mean, almost the registrations were stopped. So we didn't find any change during this particular period. I mean, the sale of tractors were also got affected. Electricity consumption, I mean, the power demand. So during the lockdown and subsequently also, or even before also, this is a necessary commodity which we are using because power consumption electricity comes under the necessary aspect. And once it is there, the demand for electricity was also higher. Why the demand for electricity was higher? The point is, here this consumption which was showing higher is just because of more use of electricity by the household. So the household consumption has increased to the larger extent. So if the people were not moving out of the house, definitely they were using their own what you can call as consumption of power consumption, which was higher, and that was the domestic consumption or the household consumption. And this has continuously supplied, I mean the power which was continuously supplied by the either private or the public sector to all the communities or all the masses. So we were not suffered because of lack of power or shortage of power, but the consumption was higher. And that's why the government were always asking to the people to pay their electricity bills on time because some sort of cost they must have incurred for the power supply to generate and circulate. Fine. Moving further and talking about India's growth tragedy, as we know that because of this pandemic period, here the growth which has been started to slow down. What we are expecting economy to move from $3 trillion economy and we are projecting to move for $5 trillion economy. That is only possible if you have the larger and larger size of growth. But because of this pandemic, it has not happened. Many agencies expected that growth rate was either 1.5%, 2%, 2.5%, but definitely it was lesser than 4%. Some were also projecting that because of this kind of severe problem of COVID-19, sometimes growth may become negative also. but we have suffered a lot. And economic growth of India in general and the various countries in particular that were little less or the growth was little slower. Going further and talking about healthcare services. So globally, if you see that, which is the country which is having the excellent health services in the world? So if you see the chart, then we come across that South Korea is the country which is having the excellent healthcare services, followed by Germany, European Union, Netherlands, Italy, China, US. And if you compare with India, then we find that our healthcare services are even lesser than the average health services of the entire world. So we are not to that extent prepared to face this pandemic situation. That's why there was more chaos or more problem during the first and the second period of lockdown. Going ahead and talking about what are the shocks this COVID has given to the India in particular and the world in general. If you see that there are two things, some shocks are good shocks, some shocks are even bad shocks. What is good during the pandemic? There was a normal monsoon, that was a good thing. Inflation was little decelerating, that was the good thing. Oil prices were going down, that was a good thing. So during the lockdown, these were the 3 points which we were taking the benefit, or we have got the benefit, and that were good. But what was not good? There was uncertainty, there was an export trouble, there was a reduction in the aggregate demand. People were postponing their consumption, the demand was getting reduced. Rural economy, which was under pressure, and growth was getting slowed down. In fact, that was worsening also. So that was the situation we find because of this COVID. And these were the two shocks. Some of them were good, some of them were bad, and mostly the bad shocks were little more. India's growth strategy, already I have elaborated. Talking about agriculture sector of Indian economy. As we know that 50 years back, agriculture was contributing 50+% in the total GDP of economy. But currently or presently, agriculture sector is started to decelerate. Their contribution has started to decline in the GDP. And it happens in most of the economies which are moving from agrarian economy to the industrial economy, to the service-related economy, or from underdeveloped country to developing country. And any developing economy, these things happens. So the agriculture contribution in GDP was somewhere around 11% during this pandemic period. Most of the agricultural commodities output, which was also some extent good for the food grain, but so talking about the what can call as fertilizer, for example, fruits and the vegetables, so the commercial crops, their output was getting affected. If the output was there, but the market and the sale was affected to the largest extent, and that is because of the reduction in the consumption or the postponement in the consumption pattern. India was accounting somewhere around 17% in the total world's food consumers. Our consumers basket, food consumers basket is very large. 17% is our own consumption basket. And we are contributing 10.24% in the total cereal productions, and we rank almost third in the world, and that is after China and USA. But India ranks very first in the pulses. Though our pulses production is less, but our rank all over the world is at number 1. Our production or the contribution to the extent of 21% is there. We are second largest producer of the wheat, cotton, rice, and that accounts accordingly or respectively 21%, 12%, and 24% of the production. India has emerged as a leading producer of fruits, vegetable, and milk. We are pioneer, or we are the largest producer of fruits, vegetables, as well as the milk. Our dairy sector is also performing to the greater extent. And our regular export of rice to the different countries, or the pulses to different countries, which was, though we are emerging, but that was also affected because of this pandemic. and livelihood of more than half of the India's working population from agriculture and its allied activities, which has also got affected. And we know that India is still home to the largest number of poor people of the world. If you compare the poverty, if you compare hunger, if you compare malnourishment, still there is more place in India. We cannot say that all these are eliminated. Still they exist in India. And during the pandemic, those who were the sufferers or those who were very close to such kind of issues, they have suffered to the largest extent. Moving further and taking the support of the National Sample Survey Organization's database, as well as the census database, what we come across that the principal source of livelihood for around 55% of the household was from the agriculture sector as per the NSSU data. And if you take the 2011 census data, that also says somewhere around 54.6, roughly you can take 55% population, which is still depending upon the agriculture. So that was the situation. But of that, how much was the ratio of cultivators? The cultivators were 45.1% and agricultural laborers were 54.9%. But in total, agricultural labor force in India is 144.3 millions. And of that, the outnumbered cultivators are 118.8 million. To that extent, the labor force which is still exists in agriculture sector and their dependency is on this area. If you see the reports which has been published by the NABARD is one of the government agency, and their report says that on an average monthly income, which stood somewhere around 8,059 rupees for agricultural household, it was 8,931 rupees as compared to non-agricultural, it was 7,269 rupees. I mean the agriculture and non-agriculture, if you say that agricultural laborer and agricultural landholder, our household, then agricultural laborer has suffered a lot. From the wage labor's point of view, we can understand that most of the remunerative source of income was the wages. And if the schemes like MG Narega or schemes like daily wages, if that were got affected because of pandemic, and once they were not working, the daily source of income was also affected because of this COVID pandemic problem. Going further and talking about the household's income after the wage labor, and which has made up roughly 54% of the total income that is applicable for non-agricultural. And for the agricultural household, it was about 35%. Non-agricultural household, it was about 54%. That was the position during the pandemic period. Talking about the food security in India, we know that though the government of India has passed a bill that food security bill, though it exists, but huge food grain production with large undernourished and poor population still exists in India. If you see the global hunger index of the year 2018, that says India ranks 103rd out of 119 countries. See our position globally. So though we say that India is a growing economy, India is a developing economy, we are becoming a superpower in years to come. But the position is not like that, because our vulnerable section of the community is not progressing to that extent. They are still becoming even laggards also. I mean, the richer is becoming richer and poorer is becoming poorer, taking this particular quote in mind that, and if you see that global hunger index figures and our ranking, then it is surprising that India's rank is at very, very low level. World Bank, which has also estimated that international poverty line of was, for example, $1.25 per day. If you consider it two, then fifth of the global poor we find in India. I mean, if you take a list, then of the 100 people, we find that every fifth person is the poor, that is of Indian poor. And if you see the government of India statistics, what the government of India says that somewhere around 22% population of our economy is still living below poverty line. Isn't it? So these are the pictures. And if this is the case, then definitely the problems like food security will lead to or will result into food insecurity. And as a result of that, government of India has come across that if this is the agrarian
सर माईक म्यूट झाला बहुतेक.
Yes, am I audible?
हाँ yes sir, audible.
Just 5 more minutes I will take. During
Yes,
the
sir, yes.
pandemic period, the floricultures were because there were no festivals like Diwali, Dashara, or for example, marriage ceremonies. So if the ceremonies were not there, then what and where to use these flowers? So those who were producing the flowers that also suffered because of this pandemic. And some estimation is given that where the people were also not getting the price what they have spent for the cultivation. I mean, the cost was more and the market price was less. It means the farmers went under the loss, those who have cultivated this. Labor market, mobility of the labor, which has been moving from one place to another place. There was a migration of the labor, and that's migration of the labor were from the urban area to the rural area. Most of the people were going back to their natives because the pandemic situation in the first and the second lockdown, which was very severe. So labor shortage, inadequacy of labor supply, or the mobility of the labor supply, or movement of labor from one place to another place.
Excuse me, sir. Your screen is not visible.
That was happening. Huh?
Sir, your screen is not visible.
Screen is also not visible. Fine. Yes. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I was talking about the labor market. There was a labor shortage problem. There was a labor mobility problem. I mean, the migration which were taking place. So these were the many issues which we realized during the pandemic period. So industry talking about medium, small, or micro, small, medium enterprises. I will not go into too much statistics of that. But what has happened during the pandemic period and the post-pandemic period, I mean, whenever the unlocking which were taking place, and there was a survey conducted by most of the agencies, and they're believing that managing cost, weak demand, financial liquidity, supply chain issues, manpower availability, these were the questions there. I mean, the agencies were asked to the consumers for the industrial unlocking period point of view. And these were the percentage they have given their impact. I mean, impact was there to the extent of 60%. Or lowest to the extent of 15% also. Trade was also affected. I mean, import and exports were affected. But if you see that export to China, if you take into account what are the commodity which were exporting to to China. I mean, Vietnam was the country which was expecting to the extent of 13.6% of their GDP. Our export to China was 0.6%. I mean, to that extent, we are not exporting more to the China. It means tourism from China, if you take that into account, Vietnam, Taiwan, Thailand, Singapore, these were the countries which have suffered a lot because the people from China were traveling from their places to the China, and that's why tourism income was more to the Chinese economy. But ours was to the extent of 0.6% or tourism to the 0.2%. So to major extent, our trade was not with the China. Going further and talking about lockdown effect, if you see about the trade deficit, import and export, and this particular graph, what we come across that the export during April 2019 till March 2020, which was exceeding, but subsequently import has increased than the export, and our economy went under the trade deficit. And how much was the trade deficit? So a trade deficit was to the extent of $152.9 billion. That was the largest deficit we find from the export import. Trade impact because of this COVID-19, if you see that which country has suffered a lot, European Union has suffered very highly, then followed by America, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Singapore, subsequently. And if you see the India's case is to the extent of 348 million US dollar. So the major affected economies are they are Turkey, Canada, Malaysia, or European Union, United States, they have suffered a lot. India's too also suffered, but not to that extent what other economies have suffered. Then as a result of this, impact on Indian economy was in case of export, then cessation of the production or the halting of the production, there was a revenue loss or there was a job loss, buying pattern of the consumers has changed, there was a liquidity squeeze. Liquidity squeeze means money supply, there was a liquidity squeeze. There was also the non-availability of steel and semi-steel. Workers were moving from one place to another place, both semi and steel people. Migration was there. Orders were getting cancelled for the industrial activities. The raw material which we have booked from the other countries that got cancelled. Demand for necessary inputs were also got affected. Flow of the material goods were got disturbed. What was the plus point was only the environment was good. The pollution was controlled during this pandemic period. Either like noise pollution or the air pollution or the water pollution. We see that there were many reservoirs that were clean during this pandemic period. And this pandemic period has also affected our tourism sector to the extent of $1 trillion. So this is the graph which says that to what extent there was a loss for the major 3-4 months during the pandemic period. And not only from Indian economy point of view, but many other countries also suffered a lot related to tourism, and mostly the Spain, Italy, which has been suffered a lot from their tourism income point of view. International tourism travel during 2020, which has also affected, Americans, 219 million, European, 244, Africa, Middle East, South Asian countries, etc. Their ratio which says here is that how much was the loss? Definitely from January 2020 to October 2020, minus 22%. And the entire world economy, which has been resulted their tourism loss to the extent of 1.5 billion US dollars. And if that has happened, then subsequently we decided how the economy which will move. Either economy will take a shape of U shape or V shape or W shape. So some of the economists predicted that if the lockdown duration becomes lesser, then economy will take a V shape. If the lockdown duration is getting extended, then economy will take a W shape, because first time lockdown, second time lockdown, third time lockdown that has taken place. So the V and subsequent V has resulted into W. But we come across that this pandemic has slowly and gradually, though they opened our economy and started to come back on our original track, but some of the disturbances started or continued. And as a result of that, the economy would have been a shape, and that shape is considered as a U-shaped growth of the economy. If this has happened, then Government of India has come across with some of the policies, what we call as Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme. This is one of the policy they must have come across. Even the Reserve Bank of India has also come out with a package. Most of the agencies, even state government has also come out with the package. I mean, to what extent the support is to be given, to some of the extent they have been extended their support for the livelihood of the community. And there were 5 ways or 5 pillars of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. One was economy, infrastructure, technology-driven system, demography, and the demand. From this area, the government started to work more because they decided to bring back our economy as immediately as possible on the main track. And to do that, these were the schemes which were very much in need to implement, and government started to implement that. What is the way forward now? The way forward now is, this is not a new policy. The policy is of old policy. Even Government of India was also thinking from that aspect that universal basic income scheme is to be introduced, because we know that there are haves and have-nots. If the recent inequality report, if you take it to account, recently released in the year 2021, last month, we come across that the inequality is increased even to the greatest extent. Not in India, even the world inequality is of little higher. So to bridge the gap between rich and poor, one has to support to the vulnerable community of the society. And from that aspect point of view, a universal basic income is one of the remedial tool which is to be implemented by the government. Or enhance the cash transfer fee. We know that the government is supporting or sending their incomes, I mean the cash to the account holders. This may be because of the having Jana Dhana Yojana schemes or the many other schemes. As a result of that, it has become easy for the government now to transfer the fund from government account to the beneficiaries account. Local to vocal is nothing but one has to see to it that the economy should move from locally to the nationally to the globally. As we pass from our journey from local to global, it may be from the various sectors point of view, that may be agriculture, that may be industrial production, or even that may be even services also. Some of the schemes like, for example, MG Narega, these some various programs online with these schemes there is a need to implement, like cleaning activities, sanitation related works, planting of the trees. Some of the programs one can introduce so that the job opportunities which will be created to such peoples under the MG Narega schemes. So these are the various initiatives which are, I feel, very important from the government point of view to push up our economy once again back to the track what we expect, that the growth of the economy should increase higher and higher. We should expect that economy should move at a largest speed. What we have realized during 2010, 2014, that the economy should have a double-digit growth. And if you want to get that objective, definitely these are the remedial measures. If the government introduce, definitely this will take place on a routine gap. But the point here is that this pandemic problem, which is now becoming a little serious nowadays also because of many kind of variants which are coming. For example, Omicron, that is a new variant which has come out, and that is getting affected more and more people. Transmission which is increasing more and more. And as a result of that, most of the European countries or the American countries are getting affected. In India, the symptoms are there. There is entry of this new variant which has been taken place. But still, everybody has to look into or take care in such a way that what are the 3 points which the government is always talking is that is to wear the mask, to make use of sanitizers, and keep social distancing. If you follow these principles, definitely we will be in a position to control this new variant also. Thank you very much. If anybody want to ask some questions, I will be happy to answer. I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, the session is open for discussion. If anybody having any question, please ask. I think no one is asking question. We move toward the concluding session.
Hello, can you hear, sir?
Yeah. Ask me.
Sir.
Ask the question.
Good evening, sir. My name is Santosh. I'm a research student. So just show your laborers and laborers. What is exact difference, sir? Hello.
Deshmukh,
Hello.
sir.
Yes.
Hello, can you, sir? What is the difference between laborers and laborers?
Labor and laborer.
Laborers.
Yeah.
Now, labor is a single person who is working in a field.
Okay.
And laborer is many number of people. And there's one is a singular, other one is a plural.
Plural means. Okay. That is
But if you want to elaborate more, agriculture labor or maybe industrial labor, isn't it? Laborers are different categories. So where the person is working in which sector, for that sector we can categorize. If in agriculture, we have agriculture
laborers.
If in the industry, then we call as industrial laborer.
Laborers. Okay. And what is the difference between workers and laborers? Workers and laborers.
Sometimes synonymously we use the word worker for the laborer. Laborer is a scientific word. In economics we use that, isn't it? Okay. Workers also we use the word, but most popularly we use the word labor. Labor in Marathi we call as shram.
Shram, yes.
A person who sells his labor power, isn't it? Person who sells the labor power is a laborer. The worker is also selling the labor power. The right word is labor.
Labor. Because so time I'm listening laborers, workers, I'm confused. That's why I'm asking, sir.
Synonymously that can be used.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, participants. We'll move toward the concluding session. Deshmukh sir have given his remarks on the impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy, including the various sectors like agriculture, trade, economy, industry, mining, petroleum, banking, tourism. He has covered all the sectors where the COVID-19 is having the impact. Also, he has mentioned the positive impact on the agriculture sectors, like in Kharif season, there is increase in sowing, around 50% increasing in the sowing in the Kharif season in 2020. Like that, he has elaborated the subject and we have enjoyed his lecture. Thank you, sir.
Give me the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you very much to chairperson of this session, Mr. Singhe sir, Associate Professor, Department of Botany, Balwan College, Vita, to nicely chair this session. Thank you very much to resource person of this session, Dr. M.S. Deshmukh sir, Professor and Head of Department, Economics, Shivaji University, Kolhapur, for such auspicious lecture on impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy. Once again, thank you very much, sir.
Deshmukh sir, thank you very much on the behalf of the Department of Economics as well as college.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Now we are moving towards the vote of thanks of the day first of international conference. I would like to request Dr. Poddar Sandhya ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to propose vote of thanks.
Good evening to one and all. It indeed is a great pleasure for me to propose vote of thanks for for this session of invited talks of day 1 of 3rd International Multidisciplinary Conference on Emerging Trends in Humanities, Commerce, Management, Science and Technology 2021. To begin with, I wish to express my deep sense of gratitude towards our first resource person, Honorable Dr. Deepak Dubal sir, Queensland University of Technology, Australia. Sir have enlightened us about various aspects of battery recycling, waste or opportunity, in a very lucid manner, making a session really enjoyable, intellectual feast. I sincerely thank sir. Thank you very much, sir. Then I extend my heartfelt thanks to the chairperson of the session, Dr. C.R. Bobde sir, Professor and Head, Department of Physics, Burman College, Vita. His excellent comments explored the topic further nicely. Thank you so much, sir. Then I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. B.S. Navi sir, Rani Chennamma University, Belgavi, for a very informative and interesting session on emerging trends in e-commerce. Thank you very much, sir. I sincerely thank Dr. R.H. Chauhan ma'am, who chaired the session. Her excellent comments made the session a real success. Thank you very much, ma'am. We are really blessed to have Dr. M.S. Deshmukh sir, Head Department of Economics, Shivaji University, Kolhapur, with us as a resource person for the 3rd session of this invited talks. Sir commented on everybody's concern today, the impact and aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic. I sincerely thank sir for his wonderful session. I extend my gratitude towards Dr. S.M. Singh sir, chairperson of this session. I'm really thankful for his expert comments on the dynamic issue. Thank you very much, sir. I thank all the audience for their gracious presence in this session and their active participation to make this session a real success. I thank all my colleagues and organizers for their support and endless efforts for the organization of this wonderful session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. With the permission of the chair, I declare this session as well as the day 1 of the conference to be over. Thank you. We request all the participants to please share their feedback on the group itself. Thank you, everybody.